Story 1.
My husband told me his company poker night was mandatory, so I spent our anniversary alone watching Netflix. At 2 a.m., I got a butt dial from his phone. I heard my sisters laugh, slot machines, and my husband saying, "Best Vegas trip ever, worth every lie." I listened for 47 seconds, then hung up and went to sleep. When he came home the next day with gas station flowers, I smiled and said, "How was poker?" That was 5 days ago. This morning, he woke up to divorce papers, an empty bank account, and a video I'd sent to both our families titled Anniversary Special. "How was poker?" I asked him when he walked through the door, wilted carnations in hand. "Exhausting," Marcus said, loosening his tie. Henderson wouldn't shut up about his boat. "You know how he gets." I nodded from the couch, keeping my expression soft. The TV was still playing the same show I'd paused 47 seconds into that phone call. My sister's distinctive snort laugh had been unmistakable, even through casino noise. 5 years of hearing it across Thanksgiving tables, birthday parties, and Sunday brunches had burned that sound into my memory. "I'm sorry about missing our anniversary, Claire." He set the flowers on the counter without looking for a vase. "Next year will be different. I promise." Promises? We built our marriage on those, brick by brick, until I discovered the whole foundation was rotten. "It's fine," I said, and meant it. Because it truly was fine now that I knew exactly who I'd married. He kissed my forehead and headed to the shower. I listened to the water run, then picked up my phone and texted my lawyer, "Tomorrow morning. Early." That was 5 days ago. The days between discovery and destruction require a special kind of patience. Most people don't have it. They scream, they throw things, they confront. They give away their advantage because the pain demands immediate release. But I'd learned patience from my mother, who'd waited 3 years to leave my father, quietly building her exit strategy while he gambled away her inheritance. She taught me that vengeance served cold isn't just a saying, it's a survival strategy. On day 2, I made breakfast. Scrambled eggs, just how Marcus liked them, with chives and a little cream cheese mixed in. He ate them while scrolling through his phone, probably deleting evidence. "Any plans today?" he asked. Meeting Bethany for lunch. A lie, but I needed practice. If he could do it, so could I. I actually spent that afternoon at our bank, where I learned some interesting things about joint accounts and personal savings. Marcus had always handled the finances. "You're too creative for numbers," he'd said when we got married. "Let me take care of the boring stuff." I'd been flattered then? Stupid. Turns out creative people can learn spreadsheets real fast when motivated. Our savings account showed regular withdrawals over the past 6 months. Small enough not to trigger alerts, large enough to add up. I tracked them back through statements I'd never bothered to check. March, 2000. April, 1500. May, 2500. The pattern held through October. $15,000 vanished into whatever life he'd been funding behind my back. The checking account was joint, but the savings account had both our names with different permissions. He'd set it up when we bought the house, explaining it was for property taxes. More lies, layered so thick I'd been breathing them like air. I opened my own account that afternoon. The banker, a woman named Patricia with kind eyes and a divorce ring tan line, didn't ask questions when I requested paperwork for transferring assets. She'd seen this before. Day 3 brought my sister to my doorstep. "You weren't at book club," Melissa said, pushing past me with a bottle of wine. My younger sister by 2 years, prettier by general consensus, and apparently shameless enough to sleep with my husband while I sat home alone on our anniversary. "Headache," I said. She settled onto my couch, the same spot where I'd sat 5 nights ago listening to her laugh in a Vegas casino. "Marcus mentioned you've been weird lately. Everything okay?" The audacity would have been impressive if it wasn't so infuriating. I poured her wine, watching the red liquid catch the light. "Just work stress. New client wants everything yesterday. I'm a freelance graphic designer. The beauty of self-employment is nobody can verify your schedule." "You work too hard," Melissa said. "You should take a vacation." Marcus mentioned his company might have a retreat in Scottsdale next month. "Maybe you could tag along?" "Maybe." I sipped water, not wine. I needed clarity. She stayed for an hour, chatting about her job at the marketing firm, her new apartment, her latest dating disaster. The whole time, I watched her face and wondered when it had started. Had they laughed about me? Had she felt guilty, or just entitled? Before she left, she hugged me. "Love you, sis." "You too," I said, and that wasn't even a lie. I did love her. But love doesn't mean you let someone destroy you without consequences. Day 4 was Saturday. Marcus suggested dinner out. Carrabba's? He offered. Make up for missing our anniversary? Carrabba's was where he'd proposed, 7 years ago, over their chicken parmesan. I'd cried happy tears then. Now I just felt tired. Sure, I said. We drove in his car because mine was acting funny. Another lie, but useful. It gave me time to watch him, study the man I'd shared a bed with for 6 years. He looked the same. Smiled the same. The betrayal hadn't marked him physically, but I kept searching for signs anyway. A nervous tic, maybe. Guilt in his eyes. Nothing. He was perfectly comfortable. Over pasta, he held my hand. I know I've been distant. Work's been crazy, but I'm going to do better. Okay, I said. You're being really understanding about all this. We're partners, I said. That's what partners do. His smile reached his eyes. He believed me completely. Why wouldn't he? I'd never given him reason to doubt. That night, he wanted to be intimate. I almost said no, then reconsidered. Letting him think everything was normal bought me time. So I participated, mechanically, thinking about spreadsheets and lawyer consultations and the recording I'd made of that 47-second phone call. Afterward, while he slept, I went through his phone. He wasn't smart about security. His passcode was our wedding date. Inside, I found texts to someone named Danny that were clearly about my sister. M says Claire suspects nothing. One read. We're good for Christmas trip. Christmas. 6 weeks away. They were planning another one. I screenshotted everything, uploaded it to a cloud account he didn't know about, then put his phone back exactly where he'd left it. Day 5 was Sunday. We had brunch with his parents. Linda and Robert Hutchinson had never particularly liked me. I was too artsy, too unconventional, not the lawyer or doctor they'd envisioned for their only son. But they were polite, and I tried hard over the years to win them over. How's the graphic design business? Robert asked, like he did every month, as if hoping I'd finally admit defeat and get a real job. Thriving, I said. Just landed a contract with a tech startup. 6 figures. Marcus's head snapped toward me. You didn't mention that. Just found out Friday. Another lie. But his parents looked impressed, and that's what mattered. Linda softened slightly. Well, that's wonderful, Claire. Over Eggs Benedict, Marcus's father told stories about poker nights from his youth. The irony was so thick I nearly choked on my mimosa. His son had inherited the lying gene directly. Marcus, you should bring Claire to your company poker nights, Linda said. Make it a couples thing. They're pretty serious, Marcus said quickly. High stakes. Probably boring for her. I'd love to come sometime, I said sweetly. If they ever allow spouses. His jaw tightened microscopically. Point to me. That afternoon, I met with Jennifer Chen, the lawyer Patricia had recommended. Jennifer was 45, sharp as broken glass, and had a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in court. Do you want to reconcile or annihilate? She asked. Annihilate. She smiled. Good. Reconciliation is cheaper but less satisfying. I showed her everything. The bank statements, the screenshots, the audio recording. She listened to my sister's laugh coming through casino speakers and raised an eyebrow. Your sister, she said. That complicates things emotionally but simplifies them legally. You'll want to act fast before they have time to coordinate stories. How fast? Can you wait until Monday? I thought about it. Marcus had no idea anything was wrong. He'd go to work Monday morning expecting his normal life. Monday works. Good. I'll have papers ready. Process server will hit him at his office around 9. You'll need to move the money before then. Already planned? Jennifer studied me with something like respect. You're calmer than most people in your situation. I had a good teacher. My mother, who'd waited until my father was at a work conference to clean out their accounts and file for divorce. He'd come home to an empty house and a lawyer's business card on the kitchen counter. She taught me that emotional satisfaction is temporary, but financial security is forever. Monday morning, I woke up at 5. Marcus was snoring beside me, one arm thrown over his eyes. I watched him for a moment, trying to find some remnant of the man I'd married. The guy who'd proposed with shaking hands, who'd cried during our vows, who'd promised me forever. Maybe that person had never existed. Maybe I'd just been a convenient placeholder while he waited for something better. I got up quietly, made coffee, and sat at my laptop. By 6 a.m., I transferred every dollar from our joint accounts into my new personal account. By 7, I'd done the same with our savings. By 8, I'd changed passwords on every shared subscription, utility account, and credit card that had my name on it. The law was on my side. In cases of infidelity, especially with documentation like mine, judges tended to favor the betrayed spouse. Jennifer had explained it all. The money was as much mine as his, and protecting assets during divorce proceedings was not only legal but recommended. Marcus's alarm went off at 7:30. He kissed my cheek and stumbled to the shower. "Big week?" I called out. "Quarterly reviews," he said through the door. "Henderson's been riding everyone." Henderson. His poker night alibi? I wondered if Henderson even existed, or if that was just another layer of fiction. He dressed in his good suit, the navy one I'd helped him pick out for his cousin's wedding. Straightened his tie in the mirror. Grabbed his briefcase. "Love you," he said at the door. "You too," I replied. The door closed. I counted to 60, then to 60 again. Then I called Jennifer. "He just left," I said. "Perfect. Server will be at his office in 40 minutes. Are you ready for this?" Was I? The marriage was over the moment I'd heard my sisters laugh through that phone, but ending it officially felt massive. Final. "Yes," I said. "Good. Go somewhere public. Coffee shop, library, somewhere with people. You don't want to be alone when he finds out." I'd already planned for that. I drove to a Starbucks 3 miles from our house, ordered a latte, and settled in at a corner table with my laptop. Around me, the morning rush buzzed, business people grabbing coffee before work, students studying, retired folks reading newspapers. Normal life, continuing while mine imploded. At 9:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Marcus, what did you do?" I didn't respond. "Marcus, call me. Now." I turned off my phone and opened Photoshop. I had client work to do, and revenge didn't pay the bills. 40 minutes later, my laptop pinged. Email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "You need to see this." I almost deleted it as spam, then noticed the preview text, "Claire, it's Robert. Please open this." Marcus's father. I clicked. The email contained a single attachment, a video file. My hands shook as I downloaded it. Around me, the coffee shop continued its peaceful Monday morning rhythm. Someone ordered a pumpkin spice latte. A child dropped a muffin. A couple argued quietly about whose turn it was to pick up dry cleaning. I pressed play. The video was grainy, clearly taken on a phone, but the content was sharp enough. Marcus and my sister, in what looked like a hotel room. Not just kissing or holding hands. Actually, explicitly, unmistakably together in a way that made my stomach turn. But that wasn't the twist. "When are you going to tell her?" my sister asked in the video, her voice clear. "Soon," Marcus said. "I just need to figure out the house situation." "You've been saying that for 2 years." 2 years. Not 6 months. 2 entire years. The video continued. "My dad's lawyer says if you do it right, she won't get anything. The business is in your name, right?" "The business? What business?" I watched the rest of the video in stunned silence. Marcus explained, in detail, about a consulting company he'd started 3 years ago. Used our savings as seed money. Built it up while telling me he was working late at his regular job. The company was now worth, according to him, close to $500,000. "And she has no idea?" Melissa asked. "None. I kept everything separate. When we divorce, she'll think she's getting half of nothing." They laughed. Both of them. The sound was worse than anything I'd heard on that butt dial. The video ended. I sat frozen, coffee going cold in front of me. The email from Robert contained one line below the video. "Marcus showed me this last month. Said he was going to divorce you and marry your sister. I told him he was making a mistake. He laughed at me. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Linda doesn't know I'm sending this. Robert." Marcus's father had just handed me a nuclear bomb. I forwarded the video to Jennifer immediately, then sat back and tried to process. Not just cheating. Not just stealing. A planned, calculated, 2-year conspiracy to defraud me of marital assets while sleeping with my sister. The sophistication of it was almost impressive. My phone buzzed. I turned it back on without thinking. 23 missed calls from Marcus. 16 from my sister. 7 from my mother. I called Jennifer. Did you get it? I asked. Watching it now. Silence on the other end, except for the video audio playing. Then, oh my goodness, Claire. This changes everything. He's been hiding assets. That's fraud. We can go after the business, sue him personally, and depending on how he funded it, there might be criminal implications. What do I do? Nothing. Let me handle it. Don't talk to him, don't talk to your sister, and definitely don't talk to anyone without me present. Can you stay somewhere safe tonight? I have a friend. Good. Go there. Now. I packed a bag in the Starbucks bathroom, stuffing my laptop and charger into my work backpack. Then I drove to Bethany's apartment across town. Bethany was my best friend since college, a corporate lawyer who'd never liked Marcus. He smiles too much, she'd said once. Nobody's that happy without hiding something. Turns out she was right. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. What happened? I told her everything. The butt dial, the waiting, the divorce papers, and finally, the video from Robert. That magnificent bastard, Bethany said when I finished. The dad, I mean. Not your husband. Your husband is just regular bastard variety. He's been planning this for 2 years. They've been planning it. Your sister too? Bethany poured me tea I didn't want. The question is what you want to do about it. Destroy them. Legally or socially? Both. She grinned. That's my girl. That night, while I couldn't sleep on Bethany's couch, I made the video. Jennifer had advised against it, said to let the courts handle everything, but some things required more than legal justice. I titled it Anniversary Special and included the audio from the butt dial, 47 seconds of my sister's laugh and Marcus's voice celebrating their Vegas trip. The screenshots of his text to Danny about my sister. The bank statements showing the hidden withdrawals. And finally, Robert's video, edited to remove the explicit parts but keeping the audio about the secret business and their plans to defraud me. I narrated over it all, calm and factual. No tears, no drama. Just, this is what my husband and sister have been doing for the past 2 years while I believed we were building a life together. At the end, I added our wedding photo. Young, happy, hopeful. A different Claire, married to a different Marcus. Or maybe the same Marcus, just showing his real face now. I uploaded it as unlisted on YouTube, then sent the link to everyone. Both sets of parents. Marcus's siblings. My mother. Our mutual friends. His boss at the company he claimed was doing quarterly reviews. The email subject line was simple, the truth about Marcus and Melissa. Then I turned off my phone and slept for 12 hours straight. When I woke up Tuesday afternoon, the world had shifted. Bethany showed me her phone over coffee. You need to see this. My video had gone viral. Not internet viral, but viral within our social circles. Everyone had watched it. Everyone had shared it. The family group chats Bethany was in, she'd been adopted into my friend's circle years ago, were exploding. My mother had sent 14 texts, each more distraught than the last. Marcus's mother had called 6 times. 3 friends had offered me their spare rooms. 2 had offered to slash Marcus's tires. This is bigger than you think, Bethany said, scrolling. Look. She showed me Marcus's company website. Someone had left a review, employee here engages in fraud against his wife while claiming family emergencies to skip work. Real ethical operation you're running. The review had been deleted, but screenshots lived forever. Did you know his boss is Linda Thatcher? Bethany asked. I shook my head. She's married to Judge Thatcher. They're huge on family values, evangelical Christians, the whole thing. Marcus getting exposed for fraud and infidelity right before quarterly reviews? Claire, you didn't just burn him. You napalmed his career. Good. My phone, when I finally turned it on, contained 247 notifications. I ignored most of them and called Jennifer. Have you seen the video? I asked. Everyone's seen the video. She sounded stressed. Claire, I specifically told you not to, I know. It might complicate things in court. But will it hurt my case? Silence. Then, no. If anything, it helps. Public pressure means you can't claim you're making false accusations. But Claire, you need to be prepared. This is going to get ugly. It was already ugly. Marcus sent a message through Jennifer's office, begging to talk. I refused. My sister showed up at Bethany's apartment. Bethany told her to leave or she'd call the police. My mother called, crying, saying she couldn't believe Melissa would do this. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. By Wednesday, the full scope of Marcus's fraud became clear. Jennifer's investigators discovered he'd been running his consulting business for 3 years, not 2. He'd initially funded it with money from our wedding gifts, then systematically drained our savings. The company specialized in financial consulting, which would have been hilarious if it wasn't so infuriating. He'd kept it hidden by filing taxes separately, using a business address at a UPS store, and conducting all meetings at clients' offices or coffee shops. His regular job was part-time, something else I hadn't known. He'd been claiming mandatory overtime while actually building his side business. The company was worth more than he told my sister. Try $1.2 million. He was planning to divorce you, claim the business as a separate asset since it was in his name alone, and give you half of essentially nothing, Jennifer explained. Then marry your sister and live off the business income. Can he do that? Not legally. Anything acquired during the marriage is marital property, especially if he used marital funds to start it. We're going to bury him. Thursday brought the first settlement offer. Marcus would give me the house and $50,000 to go away quietly. Counter? Jennifer asked. The business, the house, and $200,000 for emotional damages. That's aggressive. So was sleeping with my sister for 2 years while stealing from me. She smiled. I'll send it over. Marcus rejected it immediately. His lawyer called mine, screaming about unreasonable demands and emotional manipulation through public shaming. His lawyer is panicking, Jennifer said. That's good for us. Friday, 1 week after I'd served him papers, Marcus showed up at Bethany's apartment. She was at work. I was alone, editing a logo for a client, when the doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. Marcus stood there, haggard and desperate. He'd lost weight. His tie was crooked. The polished facade had cracked. I opened the door but kept the chain on. Claire, please. Can we just talk? No. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But we can fix this. There's no we anymore. Your sister seduced me. She's always been. I laughed. Actually laughed. You're really going to blame her? It's the truth. She came to me, said she'd always had feelings, that you'd never appreciate me like she could. I was weak? I'm sorry. The apology might have meant something a week ago. Now it was just noise. You stole from me, I said. Built a company with our money and hid it. I was going to tell you, when? After the divorce you'd been planning for 2 years? He flinched. So he knew about the video. My father had no right. Your father did exactly what any decent person would do. He told the truth. Claire. His voice broke. I love you. I've always loved you. This whole thing got out of control, but we can, no. I started closing the door. Wait. He stuck his foot in the gap. If you drop the asset claims, I'll give you the house free and clear. And $100,000. That's fair. Fair would have been you not cheating. Fair would have been you not stealing. Fair would have been literally anything except what you actually did. You're being unreasonable. I'm being generous by not pursuing criminal charges for fraud. His face paled. You wouldn't. Try me. I shut the door. Heard him standing there for a long moment before his footsteps retreated. That night, Jennifer called with news. His company is folding. 3 of his 5 clients saw the video and dropped him. The other 2 are nervous about association. He's trying to sell, but nobody wants to touch it. Good. Also, I talked to the prosecutor's office. If you want to pursue fraud charges, they're interested. Did I? Sending Marcus to prison felt extreme. But letting him walk away felt worse. How long would he serve? Depends on the judge. Could be probation, could be 5 years. The amount he took pushes it into felony territory. I thought about it. Weighed justice against mercy, revenge against moving on. Let me think about it. Don't take too long. There's a statute of limitations. Saturday brought the second twist. My sister called from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. What? I said. Claire, please, I need to talk to you. She was crying. Marcus left me. Said it's over. That I ruined his life. The irony was so perfect I had to sit down. And you want what, exactly? Sympathy? I want you to know I'm sorry. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen, Melissa? We were going to wait until after the divorce. Do it right. But then you found out, and everything went crazy. You mean I ruined your plan to systematically destroy my life while pretending to be my sister? Silence. He told me you didn't love him anymore, she said finally. That you were cold, distant. That the marriage was dead anyway. And you believed him. I wanted to. I've always, she stopped. Always what? Wanted what you had. You're the successful one, the creative one. Mom always liked you better. I just wanted something of yours for once. There it was. The real truth, uglier than the affair. So you took my husband? I didn't mean to fall for him. It just happened. For 2 years. It just happened for 2 years. Claire, don't call me again. I hung up. Blocked the number? Felt nothing. Sunday morning, Bethany made pancakes while I sat at her kitchen counter scrolling through emails. Most were supportive. A few were from people I barely knew, offering unsolicited advice about forgiveness and moving forward. Delete, delete, delete. Then I saw one that made my blood run cold. Subject: we need to talk about the Henderson account. From Michael Reeves, CEO of Vertex Solutions. Vertex was the tech startup I'd landed that 6-figure contract with. My biggest client. The one keeping my business afloat while everything else burned down. I opened it with shaking hands. Claire, I've been made aware of some concerning information regarding your husband's business practices. Given that you're listed as a contractor for our competitor, Dataflow Systems, through what appears to be your husband's consulting firm, we need to discuss potential conflicts of interest. Please call me Monday morning. Michael. My husband's consulting firm. Dataflow Systems. I pulled up my laptop and searched for Dataflow. Their website was sleek, professional, specializing in data analytics and business intelligence. Direct competitors with Vertex. And there, buried in a project portfolio from 8 months ago, was my design work. A logo I created for what Marcus told me was a friend's startup. Layouts for a presentation deck. Website mock-ups. He'd been using my work, crediting it to his company, and selling it to Vertex's competitors. Without my knowledge. Without my permission. Bethany, I said quietly. She looked up from the stove. What's wrong? I showed her the email. That absolute, she caught herself. Okay. This is fixable. You didn't know, right? I had no idea Dataflow was even a real company. He told me it was for a friend named Danny. Danny. The same Danny he texted about you? I pulled up the screenshots I'd taken from his phone. Sure enough, mixed in with messages about my sister were discussions about the Dataflow presentation and getting Claire to finish the designs without asking questions. He'd been using me twice over. First to fund his business, then to create content for it. Call Michael, Bethany said. Right now. Don't wait until Monday. I called. Got voicemail. Left a message explaining I'd had no knowledge of Marcus's company or Dataflow, that I'd been deliberately misled, and that I was willing to provide any documentation needed to prove it. Then I called Jennifer. We have a problem, I said. She listened to the whole story, silent except for occasional typing sounds. This is actually good for us. How is this good? He's been committing fraud on multiple levels. Using your work without credit or compensation, misrepresenting your involvement to clients, potentially violating non-compete clauses if Vertex had one. Claire, this isn't just divorce court material anymore. This is copyright infringement, possibly wire fraud if he invoiced clients for your work. But it makes me look bad to Vertex. In the short term, maybe. But I can draft a statement explaining you were an unwitting victim of your husband's scheme. Most reasonable people will understand. Especially with the video already public. Monday morning, Michael called me back. I saw your video, he said. No preamble. The anniversary one. My stomach dropped. Mr. Reeves, I can explain. No need. I married my college sweetheart 20 years ago. Found out she was sleeping with my business partner. I get it, he sighed. Here's the situation. Dataflow is a competitor, but they're small. Your work for them, according to the contracts your husband provided, represents about $30,000 in unpaid licensing fees. I never licensed anything to him. I believe you. But legally, since you were married when you created the work, it gets complicated. My legal team is advising me to terminate our contract to avoid association. 6 figures. Gone. Because Marcus couldn't stop stealing from me even after I'd left. I understand, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. However, he paused. I'm not my legal team. How fast can you prove you didn't know about data flow? I have texts where he calls it a friend's startup. Screenshots of conversations where he deliberately hid client names. Send them to my personal email. If they check out, we'll restructure our contract. Put everything in your name alone, maybe add a clause about past work being done under fraudulent pretenses. Sound fair? More than fair. Good. My ex-wife tried to take half my company at our divorce. She got nothing because she'd been stealing from it. I know the difference between a victim and a perpetrator, Claire. I'll be in touch. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, trying to process. Another disaster averted, but how many more were waiting? The answer came Tuesday afternoon. I was back at my apartment, Bethany had work, and I needed to face my space eventually, when someone knocked. Not the doorbell. Just knocking, persistent and rhythmic. I checked the peephole. A woman I didn't recognize, mid-30s, expensive suit. Can I help you? I called through the door. Claire Hutchinson? My name is Vanessa Park. I'm an attorney representing data flow systems. I'd like to discuss your husband's business practices. I opened the door but kept the chain locked. I'm in the middle of a divorce from him. I don't know anything about his business. That's actually what I'm here to discuss. She held up a business card. May I come in? This affects you directly. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Vanessa settled on my couch like she belonged there, pulled out a tablet, and showed me a spreadsheet. Your husband's company billed data flow for original design work over the past 18 months. Total value, $97,000. We've since discovered that much of this work was created by you, not him. He told me it was for a friend. We believe you. The metadata on the file shows they were created on your devices, edited at times when your husband was documented as being elsewhere. We're building a case against him for fraud. What does this have to do with me? We want to hire you directly. Bypass your husband entirely, pay you what the work was actually worth, and retain you for future projects. She slid a contract across my coffee table. 2-year contract, $120,000 annually, with full credit for past work. I stared at the numbers. Why? Because your work is excellent, and we don't appreciate being defrauded. Also, frankly, the optics of hiring you away from your ex-husband's disaster of a company makes us look good. Win-win. It felt too easy. Too convenient. What's the catch? You'd be required to testify if we pursue criminal charges against him. Full transparency about the work you created, when, and under what pretenses. I'm already testifying in divorce court. This would be separate. Federal charges if we can prove wire fraud across state lines. Some of our clients are in California and Texas. Federal charges. Prison time, definitely. I need to talk to my lawyer, I said. Of course. Vanessa stood. But Claire? Men like your husband don't stop until someone stops them. Think about that. After she left, I called Jennifer. Do not sign anything, she said immediately. Data flow approaching you directly while you're mid-divorce is questionable. They might be trying to get evidence for their case while also neutralizing you as a potential hostile witness. But the money is not worth compromising your divorce settlement. Marcus's lawyer could argue you're benefiting from the exposure of his business, that you orchestrated the whole thing for financial gain. It muddies the waters. So what do I do? Tell them you're interested but can't commit until after the divorce is finalized. If they're legitimate, they'll wait. If they're fishing, they'll disappear. I sent Vanessa an email with exactly that. She responded within an hour, completely understandable. Offer stands whenever you're ready. Wednesday, the third twist arrived in the form of my mother. She showed up unannounced, which wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the haunted look on her face. We need to talk about your father, she said. My father, who I hadn't seen in 12 years. Who'd gambled away my mother's inheritance and disappeared after the divorce. Who sent a card on my wedding day with no return address and $50 cash inside. What about him? I asked. He called me. Last week. Said he saw your video, that it had been shared in some support group he's in. Mom twisted her hands. Claire, he wants to help. Help how? He says he knows Marcus's type. Has experience with men who hide money and lie about assets. He wants to share information with your lawyer. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. My deadbeat father, offering legal advice through my estranged mother about my cheating husband. No, I said. Claire, he sounded different. Sober. He's been in recovery for 8 years, has a job, a sponsor. He wants to make amends. He can make amends by staying out of my life like he has been. He knew Marcus was lying about his finances before you even filed. Said he recognized the patterns. That stopped me. What patterns? The way Marcus talked about work but never about money. How he controlled the accounts but claimed he was protecting you. The small withdrawals instead of large ones. Your father did the same thing to me. I wanted to dismiss it. To protect the wall I'd built between myself and the man who'd abandoned us. But curiosity won again. What does he want to tell Jennifer? He wouldn't say. Just that it might help your case. Claire, you don't have to see him. But maybe let him talk to your lawyer? I agreed, reluctantly. Gave Mom Jennifer's contact information and told her to handle it. 2 days later, Jennifer called with information that changed everything. Your father, she said, is apparently friends with Marcus's accountant. What? They're in the same recovery program. Have been for 6 years. The accountant, his name is Tim, has been struggling with guilt about helping Marcus hide assets. Your father convinced him to come forward. Is that legal? Technically, yes. Accountant-client privilege doesn't protect criminal activity. And what Marcus has been doing is very much criminal. What did Tim say? Marcus has 3 separate LLCs. The consulting company we knew about, plus 2 others. One holds real estate, a rental property in Tampa that generates about $40,000 a year. Another is a shell company he uses to move money offshore. Offshore? Like a movie villain. How much? Tim estimates close to $300,000 in a Cayman Islands account. The room tilted. $300,000. Created over 5 years using a complex series of transfers designed to look like business expenses. Tim has records of everything. He's willing to testify. Why now? Your father, apparently, told him about what happened to your mother. How his gambling destroyed your family. Tim has daughters. He didn't want to be responsible for helping destroy yours. My father, the disaster who'd ruined our lives, had somehow become the key to winning my case. Life has a twisted sense of humor. Thursday brought Marcus's 3rd settlement offer, significantly different from the first 2. He'd give me the house, $200,000 in cash, and half of the consulting business's remaining value. In exchange, I'd agree not to pursue criminal charges and would sign an NDA preventing me from discussing the case publicly. He's panicking, Jennifer said. Tim's testimony spooked him. How did he find out about Tim? Probably from his lawyer. Tim informed Marcus he was withdrawing as his accountant and why. Professional courtesy, though frankly Tim should have just ghosted him. What should I counter? Personally? I'd say take it. It's a good offer, Claire. You'd walk away with substantial assets and the ability to move on. But if we go to trial, we could get more. The offshore accounts, the rental property, potentially damages for fraud and emotional distress. You could walk away with close to $1 million. $1 million. Versus the certainty of $200,000 in freedom. What are the risks of trial? Judges are unpredictable. Marcus could claim you knew about the business, that you're only coming forward now out of spite. It's unlikely to work, but possible. There's also the time factor, trials take months. Are you prepared for that? I thought about it. Weighed certainty against potential. Security against revenge. Counter with $400,000, the house, all of the consulting business, and the rental property. No NDA. Jennifer whistled. That's aggressive. Match his aggression. She sent the counter. Marcus rejected it within hours. His lawyer called mine, furious. Your client is being unreasonable. My client has made a generous offer considering the circumstances. Your client committed fraud, Jennifer said calmly. My client is being extremely reasonable by not having him arrested. The offshore accounts are legal. Hiding them during divorce proceedings isn't. The call ended badly. Friday, I met my father. Mom set it up at a coffee shop neutral territory. I agreed because, despite everything, he'd helped. That deserved something. He was smaller than I remembered. Grayer. Older, obviously, but also somehow diminished. The larger-than-life figure from my childhood had shrunk into an ordinary old man nursing black coffee. Claire, he said when I sat down. Thank you for coming. I'm here for information, not reconciliation. I know. He wrapped his hands around his mug. Your mother showed me the video. When I saw what he did, how he hid money and lied, I saw myself. What I did to your mom, to you. You want forgiveness? No. I don't deserve that. I want to help you not make my mistakes. Which mistakes? Gambling or trusting the wrong person? Both. He smiled sadly. Tim told me everything Marcus has been doing. The accounts, the properties, the shell companies. It's sophisticated, but it's the same disease. Lying becomes easier than truth. Taking becomes easier than earning. You stop seeing people as people and start seeing them as obstacles. Is that your amends? Psychology? My amends is Tim's testimony. And this. He slid an envelope across the table. Everything I know about hiding money and moving assets. Where to look, what questions to ask. I wrote it all down for your lawyer. I opened the envelope. Inside were 20 pages of handwritten notes, detailing schemes and strategies I'd never have thought to investigate. Why now? I asked. Why not years ago with Mom? Because I was the one doing it then. I'm trying to be different now. Trying to fix what I broke, even if it's too late. We sat in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop hummed with normal life. Students studying, couples talking, someone's phone playing music too loud. I'm not ready to have a relationship with you, I said finally. I know. But thank you. For this. It's not enough. But it's what I can do. I left before the conversation could get deeper, but I took the envelope. Jennifer would know what to do with it. That's when I realized I'd won. Not just legally, not just financially. I'd won because I was free, and they were trapped in whatever mess they'd made. The following week, things escalated in ways I never anticipated. Marcus's mother, Linda, showed up at a coffee shop where I was working on client projects. She didn't ask permission, just sat down across from me with a kind of determination that suggested she'd been planning this. I know you have no reason to listen to me, she began. I closed my laptop. You're right. Marcus won't tell me what's happening. Robert won't speak to him. I need to know the truth. Your husband sent me a video of your son planning to defraud me. That's the truth. Her face crumpled. Robert said terrible things, but I didn't want to believe. She stopped, composed herself. I raised him better than this. Apparently not. You're right to be angry. But Claire, there's something you should know about Marcus that might explain, not excuse, but explain. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through old photos. Do you know about his brother? He doesn't have a brother. He did. Daniel. Died when Marcus was 15. Drug overdose. The name hit me. Danny. The fake contact name he'd used for my sister. Marcus never mentioned a brother. He doesn't talk about it. Can't. Daniel was brilliant, charming, everyone's favorite. When he died, Marcus became obsessed with being perfect. Successful. Better than the memory of the brother who destroyed himself. That doesn't justify cheating. No. But it might explain the lying. Marcus has spent his whole life trying to build something that couldn't be taken away, even if he had to hide it from everyone. Including you. He named my sister after his dead brother in his phone. Linda's face went pale. Oh God. That's worse than I thought. We sat in uncomfortable silence. I'm not telling you this for sympathy, she said finally. I'm telling you because Robert is tearing himself apart over what he did. He loves his son, but he couldn't watch Marcus become everything we hated about Daniel's friends. The lying, the manipulation. Robert thought exposing him might save him. Did it? I don't know. Marcus won't speak to either of us. He's living in a hotel, drinking too much, apparently talking about leaving the state. Part of me, a very small part, felt sorry for him. The rest remembered 2 years of calculated betrayal. I appreciate you telling me this, I said. But it doesn't change anything. I know. I just wanted you to understand you weren't wrong about him. The man you married did exist. He just got buried under all the fear and lies. After she left, I called Jennifer and told her about the conversation. Interesting, she said. But legally meaningless. Psychological explanations don't override fraud. I know. I just thought you should be aware. Claire, there's something else. Tim the accountant came in today with more information. Marcus has been planning to leave the country. My blood ran cold. What? Tim found flight confirmations in Marcus's email. One-way ticket to Costa Rica, Leaving next month. Apparently, Costa Rica doesn't have an extradition treaty with the US for financial crimes. Can he do that? Not legally, not while divorce proceedings are active. But physically? If he gets on that plane, we'd have a heck of a time getting him back. Or getting your money. What do we do? I'm filing an emergency motion to freeze his passport. Should be granted by end of day. He's not going anywhere. The motion went through. Marcus's lawyer called mine, screaming about overreach and harassment. Jennifer calmly explained that clients planning to flee the country during divorce proceedings tend to lose the benefit of the doubt. That night, Marcus called me directly. First time since I'd shut the door in his face at Bethany's apartment. You froze my passport? His voice was wrecked, raw. You were planning to run? I wasn't running. I was visiting a friend. With a one-way ticket. To a country with no extradition. Silence. Then, how did you know about that? Doesn't matter. You're not leaving, Marcus. You're staying here and facing what you did. I can't afford to face it. Do you understand? Between the settlements and the legal fees and losing the business, I'm going to end up with nothing. You deserve nothing. I deserve a chance to start over. You had chances. Multiple chances. You chose to keep lying instead. Your father is the one who ruined everything. The words exploded out of him. That drunk loser who abandoned you, suddenly he's some kind of hero? He got Tim to betray me, convinced my own father to turn on me. This is all his fault. This is your fault. Every single piece of it. Own it. He was crying now. I loved you, Claire. I still love you? This whole thing just got out of control. You don't love me. You loved having control over me. That's not true. Yes, it is. You kept me in the dark about money, about your business, about my own work being stolen. You wanted a wife who didn't ask questions. Well, I'm done not asking questions. I hung up. Blocked his number. Added it to the growing list of numbers I'd never answer again. 2 days later, the fourth major twist arrived via FedEx. A thick envelope, no return address. Inside were copies of text messages between Marcus and someone named Elena Voss. The messages went back 3 years. 3 years. Longer than the affair with my sister. Elena worked for Dataflow, the company Marcus had been billing for my designs. The messages started professional, discussing projects, deadlines, invoices. Then they shifted. Can't stop thinking about Austin. That was from 2 years ago. We can't keep doing this. Too risky. When are you leaving her? My hands shook as I read through months of conversations. Marcus had been sleeping with Elena while sleeping with my sister while married to me. The timeline was dizzying. But it was the final message that made everything click into place. If Claire finds out about M, at least she won't know about us. Your secret's safe. And Melissa. My sister. Elena had known about the affair with my sister. Had possibly helped plan it as cover for her own relationship with Marcus. I called Jennifer immediately. We need to add someone to the lawsuit, I said. After explaining about Elena, Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. Who sent you these? No return address. Claire, this could be from anyone. A scorned Elena, one of Marcus's enemies, someone trying to help you or hurt him. Without verification, we can't use it. The messages have metadata. Timestamps, phone numbers. We can verify. We can try. But I'm worried about how this looks. Your case is already complex. Adding another affair partner makes it look like you're piling on. Or it proves a pattern of fraud and deception. True. Let me think about strategy. While Jennifer strategized, I did my own research on Elena Voss. LinkedIn showed her as a senior analyst at Dataflow, Stanford MBA, impressive resume. Her profile picture showed a woman about my age, polished and professional. I found her personal Instagram. Private, but her profile picture matched LinkedIn. In it, she wore a necklace I recognized, a distinctive vintage piece Marcus had claimed was from an estate sale he'd gone to with Henderson. More lies. The necklace had probably been a gift. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to Jennifer. That evening, Bethany came over with wine and takeout. You look like you've been hit by a truck, she said. Feel like it too. I told her about Elena, the messages, the necklace. How are you still standing? Bethany asked. Seriously. Most people would have collapsed by now. I don't have the luxury of collapsing. If I stop moving, I'll think about how stupid I was. How many signs I missed. You weren't stupid. You were trusting. Same thing, apparently. No. Stupid is staying after you found out. You left, you fought back, you're winning. That's not stupid. That's survival. The next day brought an unexpected ally. Michael Reeves from Vertex called. I verified your screenshots. You're clear. But I also did some digging on data flow. And? They're in trouble. Financial trouble. Have been for months. I think they approached you not just to hire you, but to potentially use you as a witness against Marcus while also neutralizing any legal claims you might make against them for using your work without permission. That's what my lawyer thought. She's smart. Here's the thing, though, data flow is small enough that Marcus's fraud could actually sink them. If they spent $97,000 on designs that were stolen, and they have to repay clients or redo work, they might not survive. Why are you telling me this? Because Vertex is considering acquiring data flow. Cheap, given their situation. If we do, we'd want you on board as lead designer. Salary, benefits, stock options. Real job, not just contract work. A real job. Stability. Something Marcus's chaos couldn't touch. I'm interested, I said carefully. Good. I'll keep you posted. And Claire? I meant what I said about knowing the difference between victims and perpetrators. You're going to be fine. The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks out. Jennifer prepared me for what to expect. Marcus's lawyer would try to paint me as vindictive, money-hungry, potentially claim I'd known about the business all along. Stay calm, she coached. Answer questions directly. Don't elaborate unless asked. And remember, we have documentation for everything. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my new apartment, in my new bed, listening to city sounds and thinking about how much had changed in 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, I'd been someone's wife. Someone's sister. Someone who believed in love and trust and partnership. Now I was just Claire. Alone, but discovering that alone wasn't the same as lonely. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number, you're making a mistake. Drop the charges and we can all move on. Elena. Had to be. I didn't respond. Just screenshotted it and sent it to Jennifer with a note, exhibit whatever number we're on now. The hearing was worse than I'd expected and better than I'd feared. Marcus's lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Holbrook, came out swinging. She questioned my timeline, suggested I'd known about the consulting business, implied I'd release the video for maximum damage rather than pursuing quiet resolution. Jennifer countered every point with documentation. Bank statements proving I hadn't accessed the business accounts. Text messages showing Marcus's lies about Danny's startup. The metadata from my design files showing I created them on my personal devices at home. The judge, an older man named Harrison, listened impassively. Then came Tim, the accountant's testimony. Tim was nervous, sweating through his shirt as he explained the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the rental property in Tampa. Patricia Holbrook tried to shake him, but Tim held firm. Did Mrs. Hutchinson have knowledge of these accounts? She asked. No. Mr. Hutchinson specifically instructed me to keep them hidden from her. And you have documentation of this instruction? Yes. Emails going back 4 years. The courtroom was silent as the emails were entered into evidence. Marcus, sitting at the defendant's table, looked smaller with each revelation. Then Patricia played her trump card. Mr. Spencer, isn't it true that you're in a recovery program with Claire Hutchinson's father? That he convinced you to testify against your client? Objection, Jennifer said. Relevance. It goes to bias, Your Honor. Judge Harrison considered. I'll allow it. Tim shifted in his seat. Yes, I'm in recovery with Mr. Patterson. Yes, he encouraged me to come forward. But I'm testifying because what Mr. Hutchinson did was wrong, not because of who asked me to. But you violated client confidentiality. Accountant-client privilege doesn't cover illegal activity. Mr. Hutchinson was committing fraud. I'm required by law to report it. Patricia tried a few more angles, but Tim wouldn't budge. Finally, she sat down, frustration evident in every movement. The judge called a recess. Jennifer and I huddled in the hallway. It's going well, she said. Better than well. Harrison looks furious with Marcus. What happens next? More testimony this afternoon. Your father's written statement will be entered. Then closing arguments tomorrow. Do I have to testify? Probably. Be ready. That afternoon, I took the stand. Patricia Holbrook asked me about my marriage, my work, my relationship with my sister. Tried to make me seem naive or vengeful or both. Mrs. Hutchinson, isn't it true that you released that video to cause maximum embarrassment to your husband? I released the video to tell the truth. But you sent it to his employer, his family, your mutual friends. That's not truth-telling. That's revenge. It's documentation. I sent evidence of what he did to people who had a right to know. You could have handled this privately. Like he handled his affair privately? Like he handled stealing from me privately? He had 6 weeks to come clean. He chose to keep lying. Patricia shifted tactics. You claim you didn't know about your husband's business, yet you created designs for it. He told me they were for a friend's startup. And you believe that? I had no reason not to. I trusted my husband. Past tense. When did that trust end? 2 a.m. on our anniversary, when I heard him celebrating lying to me. The gallery murmured. Judge Harrison gavelled for silence. Patricia tried a few more questions, but I'd practiced with Jennifer. Stay calm. Answer directly. Don't get emotional. Finally, she dismissed me. I returned to my seat, hands shaking but head held high. The hearing concluded the next day with closing arguments. Patricia Holbrook made an impassioned speech about marriage being complicated, mistakes being human, and vindictive spouses destroying lives over betrayals that could have been forgiven. Jennifer stood up and systematically dismantled every point. This isn't about a complicated marriage, she said. This is about fraud. Systematic, calculated fraud spanning years. The defendant didn't just cheat on his wife. He stole from her. He used her work without credit or compensation. He hid assets, moved money offshore, and planned to flee the country to avoid consequences. Mrs. Hutchinson isn't being vindictive. She's seeking justice. And she's entitled to it. Judge Harrison took 2 days to deliver his ruling. When we reconvened, his expression told me everything before he even spoke. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony, he began. This is one of the most egregious cases of marital fraud I've encountered in 23 years on the bench. He awarded me the house, full ownership of the consulting business and all associated assets, the Tampa rental property, access to the offshore accounts, $400,000 in damages, and full recovery of attorney's fees. Marcus got nothing except the debt from his legal bills. Furthermore, Judge Harrison continued, I'm referring this case to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. The level of deception and financial manipulation documented here warrants investigation. Patricia Holbrook's face went white. Marcus looked like he might vomit. Outside the courthouse, Jennifer hugged me. You did it. We did it, I corrected. No. You did the hard part. You waited, you documented, you stayed smart when most people would have just screamed. That's all you. Michael Reeves called that afternoon. I heard about the ruling. Congratulations. Thank you. The Vertex data flow acquisition is moving forward. Elena Voss was let go this morning. Turns out she was embezzling, using her relationship with your ex-husband to hide it. We'd like you to start next month if you're interested. Lead designer, $150,000 base salary, benefits, stock options. More than I'd ever made. Enough to build a real future. I'm very interested, I said. That evening, I drove to my mother's house. She'd been quiet through most of the proceedings, dealing with her own complicated feelings about my father's involvement. I heard, she said when I arrived. You won everything? Not everything. I didn't win back 6 years. No. But you won back yourself. That's worth more. We sat on her porch, drinking tea, watching the sunset. Your father called, she said. Wanted to know if you'd be willing to meet again. Maybe. Eventually. Not yet. He understands. He said to tell you he's proud of you. That you did what he never could, walked away with your head high. I'm not sure that's a compliment coming from him. Take it however you want. But Claire, he helped. Whatever his motives, he helped. I know. And I did know. Forgiveness would come or it wouldn't, but acknowledgement felt right. The following week, I got an unexpected visitor at my new office, my temporary workspace before Vertex's official start date. Melissa stood in the doorway, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I know you don't want to see me, she said. You're right. Can I have 5 minutes? Please. Against my better judgment, I nodded. She sat down, hands twisting in her lap. I saw the news about the trial. Marcus lost everything. Yes. He blamed me. Said I ruined his plan, that if I'd just kept quiet none of this would have happened. The irony was rich. And you believed him? No. Not this time. She looked up, and I saw something different in her eyes. Clarity, maybe. Or just exhaustion. I've been in therapy. Trying to understand why I did what I did. The jealousy thing was real, but it was deeper than that. I've spent my whole life competing with you in my head. The affair was just the ugliest version of that. Is this supposed to make me feel better? No. It's supposed to make you understand. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking you to know that I see what I did, how it was wrong, how it damaged you. And I'm sorry. Genuinely, actually sorry. We sat in silence. Part of me wanted to stay angry forever, to nurture the grudge until it became part of my identity. But that sounded exhausting. I'm not ready to have a relationship with you, I said. I know. But I'm not going to spend the rest of my life hating you either. That's the best I can do right now. That's more than I deserve, she said quietly. Thank you. After she left, I sat at my desk and let myself cry for the first time since this whole nightmare started. Not for Marcus or my sister or the marriage I'd lost. For the version of myself who'd trusted so completely. She was gone now, and that deserved mourning. The settlement negotiations stretched over 3 grueling weeks. Each day brought new discoveries, new betrayals, new reasons to question everything I'd thought I knew about my marriage. Jennifer's forensic accountant, a meticulous woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, uncovered patterns Marcus had hidden for years. She presented her findings in my lawyer's conference room, spreadsheets projected on the wall like evidence at a trial. Your husband is clever, Dr. Chen said. But not as clever as he thinks. She showed me how Marcus had been skimming money since our 2nd year of marriage. Small amounts at first, 100 here, 200 there. Amounts I'd never noticed from our joint account. He told me he was setting up automatic savings. Instead, he'd been funneling money into accounts I didn't know existed. This one, she pointed to a column, is registered in the Cayman Islands. Opened 4 years ago with an initial deposit of $15,000, your wedding gift money from his parents. The room spun slightly. His parents had given us money to start our life together. He'd hidden it offshore. How much is in there now? I asked. With interest? About $97,000. Jennifer made a note. We'll add that to the asset list. But Dr. Chen wasn't finished. There's also a property in Tampa. Rental property, actually. Purchased 3 years ago, currently generating about $40,000 annually in rent. Tampa? I'd never been to Tampa. We'd never discussed investment properties. He used your signature, Dr. Chen said carefully. Or rather, someone forged it. The deed shows your name alongside his, but these initials, she zoomed in on a document, aren't consistent with your other signatures. Forgery. Another crime to add to the list. Can we prove it? Jennifer asked. Easily. Claire, did you ever sign any documents related to Tampa real estate? Never. Then yes, we can prove it. Which means that property is fraudulently acquired and should be seized entirely, not split. Over the next hour, Dr. Chen revealed the full scope of Marcus's deception. 3 offshore accounts totaling $283,000. The Tampa property worth $420,000. A stock portfolio in his name alone, funded with our tax returns, worth $156,000. The consulting business, which he valued at closer to $800,000, not the $1.2 million he'd claimed. Credit cards I didn't know about, maxed out to $67,000. And a safety deposit box containing $43,000 in cash. The cash concerns me most, Dr. Chen said. That's gambling money. He's been winning and hiding it, or he's been laundering. Laundering? I felt sick. The pattern suggests he's been moving money through his business to disguise its source. Some of his consulting clients are likely just front companies for moving cash. Jennifer leaned forward. Are you saying he's involved in organized crime? I'm saying the financial patterns are consistent with money laundering. Whether that's for himself or someone else, I can't determine from the documents alone. They looked at me like I might have answers. I didn't. I'd been married to this man for 6 years and apparently knew nothing about him. What do we do? I asked. We report it, Jennifer said. To the IRS, to the FBI if necessary. But Claire, this changes everything. If Marcus is laundering money, You could be implicated unless we prove you had no knowledge. I didn't know anything. I believe you. But we need to document that. Thoroughly. The next few days were a blur of depositions, interviews, and statements. Federal agents came to Bethany's apartment, asked me questions about Marcus's activities, his associates, his travel patterns. I told them everything I knew, which was shamefully little. Yes, he traveled frequently. No, I didn't know who he met with. Yes, he had access to our accounts. No, I never checked them. You're either incredibly trusting or incredibly naive, one agent said. Both, I admitted. But the investigation cleared me. The agents determined I'd been an unwitting victim, not a participant. My separate art business, my documented ignorance of Marcus's activities, the timeline of the divorce, all of it supported my story. Your husband built a completely separate life, the lead agent told me. 2 phones, 2 sets of accounts, 2 different circles of friends. You couldn't have known because he specifically designed it so you wouldn't. Small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. The criminal investigation into Marcus took 6 weeks. During that time, the divorce proceedings were frozen. I couldn't access the discovered assets. Couldn't sell the house. Couldn't move forward. I lived with Bethany, worked on client projects, and waited. The limbo was excruciating. Every day felt like holding my breath. Then came the breakthrough. Marcus, facing federal charges for tax evasion and possible money laundering, cut a deal. He'd cooperate fully, disclose all hidden assets, testify against his business partner Trevor, who turned out to be the primary source of the illegal activity, and accept whatever the divorce court decided. In exchange, the feds would recommend probation instead of prison time. He's trying to save himself, Jennifer said when she called with the news. But it works in our favor. With full disclosure, we can finally see everything he hid. The final asset list was staggering. When Dr. Chen finished compiling it, the total came to just over $2.1 million in marital assets. Marcus had been living like we were struggling while secretly building wealth. And I'd believed every lie about tight budgets and necessary sacrifices. We're asking for 70%, Jennifer said. Given the fraud, the deception, and your lack of knowledge about these assets, it's reasonable. He'll never agree. He doesn't have a choice. The federal prosecutor is on our side, the judge is furious, and his own lawyer is advising him to take whatever we offer. She was right. 3 days later, Marcus's attorney called with an acceptance. The final settlement came 2 weeks after that. Actually, the settlement was more complex than that initial agreement. With the judge's ruling, I received the house, valued at $420,000. The consulting business assets, which I immediately sold to a competitor for $200,000. The Tampa rental property, generating $40,000 annually with excellent tenants. The offshore accounts, totaling $283,000 after recovery fees. $400,000 in direct damages for fraud and emotional distress. Legal fees, another $90,000. Total, approximately $1.4 million. I'd married Marcus with student debt and a freelance dream. I was leaving him debt-free and financially secure for the first time in my adult life. The irony wasn't lost on me. He'd spent years stealing from me to build wealth. In the end, I got the wealth and he got nothing. My sister moved to Portland. I heard through mutual friends she was seeing a therapist, working retail, trying to rebuild. I felt nothing about that either. Not satisfaction, not pity. Just nothing. But 6 months after the divorce, she sent a package to my new address. I almost refused delivery, but curiosity won. Inside was a letter and a check for $15,000. Claire, I know this doesn't fix anything. I know money can't undo what I did or make you forgive me. But I've been working with my therapist on making amends, and she suggested I start by trying to repay some of what I took from you. This is every dollar I've saved since moving to Portland. It's not enough, it'll never be enough, but it's something. I was jealous of you my whole life. You were smarter, more talented, more loved. I convinced myself that taking Marcus would make me feel better about myself. Instead, it just made me hate myself more. Therapy is helping me understand that I was looking for external validation instead of building internal worth. I sabotaged the one person who always stood by me because I couldn't stand to see you happy when I felt so empty. None of this is an excuse. I'm just trying to explain what I've learned. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect a relationship. I just want you to know that I understand now what I destroyed, and I'm sorry. Melissa. I stared at the check for a long time. $15,000? Probably every penny she'd saved working retail for 6 months. The gesture was significant, even if inadequate. I could cash it, keep it as the bare minimum she owed me. I could tear it up, send her a message that her money meant nothing. I could send it back, refusing to accept anything from her. Instead, I deposited it into a savings account I opened in her name. Built it up with interest over the following months, adding my own contributions. When it reached $30,000, I transferred it back to her as a nest egg, help she didn't know she was getting, from a sister who couldn't forgive but also couldn't let her drown. Maybe that made me weak. Maybe it made me compassionate. I didn't care which. Marcus moved back in with his parents. His mother, Linda, sent me a card apologizing for raising a man who could do what he did. I appreciated that more than I expected. Robert, Marcus's father, and I had coffee once. He apologized for not telling me sooner, explained he'd been torn between loyalty to his son and doing the right thing. The video was the last straw, he said. When he showed me, laughing about how he was going to screw you over, I couldn't stomach it anymore. Thank you, I said. For having a conscience. I should have had one sooner. The conversation drifted to safer topics, his golf game, my design work, the weather. Normal things. We were both pretending we hadn't been on opposite sides of a war. Before we parted, he handed me an envelope. What's this? I asked. The college fund we started for your future children. $23,000. It should have been for your kids with Marcus, but since that's not happening. He trailed off. Use it however you want. Start a business, travel, whatever. Just don't tell Linda I gave it to you. She thinks I'm being too soft. I tried to refuse, but he insisted. You were a good wife to my son. Better than he deserved. This is our apology for not raising him better. I took the envelope, hugged him briefly, and left before the emotions could overwhelm me. 3 months after the settlement, I got a letter from Marcus. It arrived at my office, forwarded through Jennifer's office to avoid him having my direct address. The envelope was thin, handwritten. I almost threw it away. Almost. Instead, I opened it. Claire, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness or reconciliation or anything except the hatred I've earned. But I'm writing anyway because my therapist says I need to take accountability, and this is part of that. Everything you accused me of was true. Everything you won in court was deserved. I stole from you. I lied to you. I used you while planning to discard you. I'm not going to explain or justify because there is no explanation that makes it better. I'm in therapy now. Court ordered, initially, but I've kept going because I need to understand how I became this person. The brother I lost, the pressure I felt, none of it excuses what I did to you. Those are reasons, not justifications. You deserved a partner who valued you. Instead, you got me. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover it, but it's all I have. I hope you're happy. I hope you've built the life you wanted. I hope someday you'll think of our marriage and remember the good parts, even though I've tainted everything. I won't contact you again. Marcus. I read it twice, then filed it away. Not forgiveness, but closure. He'd taken accountability, finally. That was enough. The letter mentioned a brother I'd never heard of. Later, I asked Rachel about it. Marcus had an older brother, she told me over coffee. Nathan. He died when Marcus was 15, car accident. Marcus was driving. What? It wasn't his fault. Drunk driver ran a red light. But Marcus blamed himself for years. Mom and Dad never talked about it, just packed away Nathan's stuff and pretended he'd never existed. I think that's when Marcus started changing. Pieces clicked into place. The gambling, the desperate need to succeed, the lying, all symptoms of someone running from trauma they'd never processed. It didn't excuse what he'd done to me. But it explained some of it. I'm telling you because you deserve the whole story, Rachel said. Not because I think you should forgive him. I appreciate that. For what it's worth, I think you handled everything with remarkable grace. You could have destroyed him completely, but you let him keep his dignity. I'm not sure taking everything except his dignity counts as grace. Compared to what you could have done? Yes, it does. 6 months later, I sold the house. Too many memories, and I didn't need the space. Bought a condo downtown overlooking the bay. Small, modern, entirely mine. Filled it with art from local galleries, plants that somehow survived despite my irregular watering, furniture I chose without considering anyone else's preferences. Purple velvet couch because Marcus had hated bold colors. Abstract paintings in my own style, angry slashes of red and black that had helped me process the rage. A coffee table made from reclaimed wood that cost too much but felt perfect. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with novels I'd wanted to read but never had time for. The Tampa property continued generating income. I kept the same property management company, never visited, just collected checks. Passive income that funded my new life without effort. I also discovered something unexpected about myself: I was good at being alone. The silence wasn't lonely, it was peaceful. No more walking on eggshells, wondering if Marcus was telling the truth, checking bank statements for suspicious charges. Just me, my work, and the life I was building from scratch. My business thrived after the divorce. The video had made me unintentionally famous in certain circles. The woman who destroyed her lying husband became my accidental brand. People wanted to work with me because I'd survived public betrayal with strategic grace. The tech startup contract became real, like I'd lied about at that brunch. Vertex Solutions offered me $180,000 for comprehensive rebranding. I hired Maya, a recent design school graduate who reminded me of myself at 23, and together we built something special. 6 months later, Vertex promoted me to design director. Salary, benefits, creative control. The stability felt foreign after years of freelance hustle, but I welcomed it. "You're transforming this company's visual identity," Michael Reeves told me during my review. The Dataflow acquisition was successful largely because you redesigned their entire brand. Dataflow, the company Marcus had used my work for without credit. Now I was redesigning it properly, getting paid fairly, and my name was on every document. The irony was delicious. Started dating again, casually. Nothing serious. I wasn't sure I'd ever want serious again, and that was okay. Met Daniel at a gallery opening, photographer, divorced, kind eyes. We went to dinner a few times. He knew about the video, everyone did, but he never treated me like damaged goods. "You're not broken," he said when I apologized for being guarded. "You're careful. There's a difference." We dated for 4 months. It was easy, comfortable. He made me laugh. Respected my boundaries. Never pushed for more than I could give. But it ended naturally when he got a job offer in Seattle. We both knew long distance wouldn't work. We hugged goodbye at the airport, promised to stay friends, meant it. "You're going to find someone amazing," he said. "Someone who deserves you." Maybe. Or maybe I'll just keep being amazing on my own. He grinned. That works too. After Daniel left, I focused on myself. Therapy helped. I'd started seeing someone to process the betrayal. Dr. Martinez was patient, insightful, never pushed me to forgive before I was ready. "Healing isn't linear," she said during one session. "Some days you'll feel fine, other days you'll be angry all over again. Both are valid." She was right. Most days I was genuinely happy. But occasionally I'd see a couple laughing together or celebrating an anniversary, and the rage would bubble up fresh. Why did they get honesty when I'd gotten lies? "Because life isn't fair," Dr. Martinez said. "But you survived anyway. That's what matters." My mother asked once if I'd forgiven Melissa. "No," I said. "But I've let it go." "There's a difference?" Forgiveness means what she did was okay. Letting go means I'm not carrying it anymore. She seemed to understand. Melissa sent cards on my birthday and Christmas. Never called, never tried to visit. Just simple cards with her signature. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw them away either. They went into a box in my closet, evidence that she was trying even if I wasn't ready to accept it. Maybe someday we'd talk again. Maybe not. Either way, I'd survive. The criminal charges against Marcus were reduced to a plea deal. 18 months probation, community service, full restitution of the offshore accounts which I'd already recovered. He avoided prison, but barely. I heard through Robert that Marcus had moved to Colorado, working in property management, living simply. Apparently, therapy was helping. I was glad for him, in an abstract way. His misery wouldn't undo what he'd done, so his recovery seemed preferable. Trevor, the business partner who'd introduced Marcus to gambling and money laundering, wasn't so lucky. Federal charges, 3 years in prison, everything seized. I felt nothing about that either. He'd enabled Marcus's worst impulses and dragged him into criminal activity. Whatever he got, he'd earned. Elena Voss, the woman who'd threatened me about Marcus's offshore accounts, got charged with embezzlement. Turned out she'd been stealing from Dataflow for months, using Marcus's consulting invoices to hide the theft. 3 years in federal prison. They deserved each other, I thought when I heard. Two people who valued money over integrity, destroying each other in the pursuit of more. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that 47-second phone call. How close I came to confronting him immediately, to giving away my advantage, to letting emotion override strategy. My mother taught me patience. Marcus taught me that people lie. My sister taught me that blood doesn't mean loyalty. But I taught myself the most important lesson, that surviving betrayal isn't about revenge. It's about refusing to let someone else's choices destroy your future. 1 year after that butt dial changed everything, I woke up in my sunny condo overlooking the bay, made coffee in the expensive machine I'd bought with settlement money, and smiled. Not because I destroyed Marcus or gotten revenge or won some cosmic battle. I smiled because I realized I'd gone an entire week without thinking about him. An entire week where my life was just my life, not the aftermath of his betrayal. That felt like victory. This morning, exactly 1 year after the anniversary I spent alone, I woke up in my sunny condo, made coffee in my expensive machine I bought with my settlement money, and smiled. Marcus is still rebuilding his life in Colorado. My sister is still in Portland, still sending cards I don't answer. My father is still in recovery, still trying to make amends. I'm still here, still standing, still winning. And that, more than any revenge, feels like victory. A final thought. Betrayal will find you in this life, sometimes from the people you trust most. But here's what I learned: your response to betrayal defines you far more than the betrayal itself. You can choose rage that consumes you, or you can choose strategic grace that rebuilds you. Not everyone deserves your forgiveness, but everyone deserves to see you thrive anyway. The best revenge isn't destruction, it's becoming so genuinely happy that their absence becomes irrelevant. Choose yourself. Choose healing. Choose a future where their choices become nothing more than a story you tell about how you became stronger. The people who hurt you are writing their own endings. Make sure you're too busy writing your beginning to notice.
Story 2.
My aunt handed me her phone at her wedding reception and said, "Be a dear and take photos for me." I forgot to charge mine. I spent the entire night photographing her perfect day while wearing the bridesmaid dress I'd bought myself because the budget was tight. That was 5 days ago. Yesterday, her new husband asked for the photos. Check your cloud, they should all be there. And what he found left him pale. 24 hours later, divorced. Smile bigger, Madison. This is my day. Aunt Veronica's manicured fingers jabbed toward the centerpiece as I fumbled with her phone, the screen already slick with my nervous sweat. The reception hall buzzed with 200 guests I didn't know, all dressed in expensive fabrics that caught the chandelier light just right. My bridesmaid dress, seafoam green, off the rack from a discount store, felt like sandpaper against my skin. "Got it," I called back, even though the photo was blurry. She didn't hear me. Veronica had already spun toward her new husband, Marcus Greenfield, whose family apparently owned half the commercial real estate in Connecticut. Her laugh carried across the room, that practiced trill she'd perfected over the years. The same laugh she'd used when telling me, 2 months ago, that including me in the wedding party was already such a generous gesture and that expecting her to cover the dress cost was frankly a bit entitled. I was 23. She was 41. The math had never added up for why she treated me like a servant, but Mom always made excuses. Veronica had a difficult childhood. Just be patient with her. Marcus approached me during the cocktail hour, his smile warm in a way that seemed genuine. "You must be Vivian. Veronica mentioned you'd be helping with photos tonight." Helping was generous. I'd been taking them exclusively for the past 90 minutes. "The photographer is covering the formal shots," he continued, gesturing toward a woman with professional equipment stationed near the bride's table. "But Veronica wanted candid moments too. She said you have a good eye." A compliment from Veronica, even secondhand, was so rare I almost dropped the phone. "I'll do my best," I said. He squeezed my shoulder, a kind, paternal gesture, and moved on to greet other guests. Something about him seemed steady, grounded. The type of man who actually meant his wedding vows. I felt a pang of sympathy, wondering if he knew what he'd married into. The night blurred into a carousel of forced smiles and clinking glasses. I photographed the cake cutting, the first dance, the bouquet toss. Veronica kept circling back to me, checking the photos, deleting ones where her angle wasn't perfect. My feet screamed in the cheap heels I'd bought to match the dress. Around 10 o'clock, something shifted. I was photographing a group of Veronica's college friends when I noticed Marcus talking to a woman by the bar. She wore a red dress that probably cost more than my car, and her posture radiated confidence. They weren't touching, but the conversation looked intense. Marcus's expression had changed, the easygoing warmth replaced by something harder to read. Veronica appeared at my elbow. Stop gawking and get a shot of the DJ booth. I want to remember the playlist. The DJ booth. Sure. I angled the phone, but couldn't resist zooming in slightly on Marcus and the woman in red. Click. The photo captured them mid-conversation, her hand raised as if making a point, his jaw tight. Later, near midnight, I caught Veronica alone by the bathroom hallway, typing furiously on a borrowed phone. Her own was still in my possession, growing heavier by the hour. When she saw me, she shoved the device into her clutch with unnecessary force. How many photos do you have? She demanded. Maybe 300? 300? Her eyes widened. That's excessive. Delete the bad ones. Which ones? Use your judgment, Madison. She brushed past me, perfume trailing like a warning. I didn't delete anything. Something told me not to. The reception finally ended around 1 in the morning. Veronica found me hauling gift bags to the designated car, her phone still clutched in my aching hand. Thank you so much for everything tonight, she gushed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Then, quieter, just upload the photos to my cloud when you get home. The password is Marcus's birthday, 072989. She plucked the phone from my hand without waiting for confirmation and disappeared into a waiting limousine, already scrolling through her actual phone like mine had been a temporary inconvenience. I drove home at 2 in the morning, still wearing the seafoam disaster, and collapsed into bed without uploading anything. 5 days later, I was elbow deep in spreadsheets at my data entry job when my phone buzzed. Marcus Greenfield, hi Vivian, this is Marcus. Could you send me the wedding photos when you have a chance? Veronica said you were uploading them to her cloud, but I can't seem to find them. My stomach dropped. I'd completely forgotten. So sorry. I'll do it tonight. Marcus, no rush. Just whenever you can. Thanks. I finished work, picked up Thai takeout, and settled onto my couch with Veronica's login information. Her cloud account opened easily, 072989, just like she'd said. I started uploading photos in batches, organizing them by chronological order because that seemed logical. The upload bar crept forward. 10%. 20. While I waited, I scrolled through the thumbnails on my laptop screen. Most were exactly what you'd expect: Veronica beaming, guests dancing, flower arrangements in soft focus. But then I paused on the photo from the bar, Marcus and the woman in red. Something about it nagged at me. I zoomed in. The woman's face was clearer than I'd remembered. Sharp cheekbones, dark hair swept up. Professional, poised. In the background, barely visible, was a name tag clipped to her clutch, Dr. Sarah Chen, Westbrook Memorial Hospital. Weird. A doctor at a wedding. Maybe a friend? I kept scrolling. Found another photo from earlier in the night, the woman in red talking to an older couple near the gift table. In this one, her expression looked strained. The older woman's hand was on her arm, almost restraining. 50% uploaded. I shouldn't have kept looking, but curiosity pulled me forward. Another photo, the woman in red leading through a side door, alone, her shoulders hunched. The timestamp read 10:47 p.m. Then nothing. She didn't appear in any photos after that. The upload finished. I closed my laptop, unsettled in a way I couldn't articulate. Maybe it was nothing. Weddings were emotional events. People left early all the time. I texted Marcus, all uploaded. Hope you enjoy them. His response came 30 seconds later, found them. Thank you. I ordered myself to stop thinking about it. The next morning, my phone rang at 6:43 a.m. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. Hello? My voice came out foggy with sleep. Vivian. He sounded wrecked. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Ice spread through my chest. Okay. Did Veronica say anything to you about someone named Sarah Chen? The name from the tag. No. I saw her at the wedding though. In some of the photos. Silence stretched so long I checked if the call had dropped. Marcus? What was she doing? In the photos. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. Talking to you. Talking to some older people. Then leaving through a side door around 11. He made a sound, half laugh, half sob. She left at 10:47? The exact timestamp. Yes. Is everything okay? No. His voice cracked. Everything is very much not okay. Can I ask, did you take any photos of Veronica between 10:30 and 11:15? I pulled up my laptop, still on the couch from last night. Scrolled through the timeline. She's in a bunch. Dancing, talking to guests, cutting the cake again for a second angle. Wait. She cut the cake twice? The first cut was at 9:40. The photographer got it. But Veronica wanted another angle at 10:55, so you guys did a second cutting. Just a small one. The silence was different this time. Heavier. Marcus, what's going on? Sarah Chen is my ex-wife, he said quietly. We divorced 2 years ago. She wasn't invited to the wedding. My mind raced. Then how? Veronica sent her an invitation. Told her I wanted to clear the air before starting my new marriage. Sarah drove 3 hours to be there. We talked at the bar, and she explained that Veronica had called her last week, crying, saying I was having doubts and wanted to see Sarah one last time before the wedding. The room tilted. That's insane. It gets worse. Sarah left upset, drove home, and crashed her car around midnight. She's in the hospital with a concussion and broken ribs. The police report says she was crying so hard she missed a turn. Horror washed over me. Oh my gosh. Veronica's been telling me Sarah showed up uninvited to cause a scene. That she had to have security remove her quietly to avoid ruining the reception. She's been crying for 2 days about how traumatic it was. But she wasn't removed by security, I said slowly. She left on her own. And Veronica was cutting cake and smiling for photos while it happened. Yeah. His voice turned to steel. Which is why I'm asking if you'd be willing to testify to what you saw. Because I'm filing for an annulment. The next 72 hours moved like a fever dream. Marcus hired a lawyer. The lawyer requested the original photo files, complete with timestamps and metadata. I handed over everything, feeling like I'd stumbled into someone else's nightmare. Veronica called me once. I let it go to voicemail. You little snake, her message hissed. You had no right to give those photos to Marcus. I could sue you for invasion of privacy. I could ruin you. Call me back immediately. I didn't. Marcus called instead. Veronica's claiming the metadata was tampered with. Says you edited the timestamps to make her look bad because you're jealous. Jealous of what? Her life. Her marriage. Her success. He sounded exhausted. It's completely unhinged, but her lawyer is pushing the angle. I didn't edit anything. I know. Our tech expert confirmed the files are authentic. But Veronica's digging in. She's threatening to countersue for defamation. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt strangely calm. Let her. The annulment hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, I went to visit Sarah Chen at the hospital. She was propped up in bed, bruises yellowing across her collarbone, when I knocked on her doorframe. Her eyes, sharp despite the pain medication, assessed me immediately. You're the photographer, she said. Technically, I'm just the niece who got voluntold. A small smile. Marcus mentioned you. Said you probably saved his life. I pulled up a chair. I'm so sorry about what happened. Veronica had no right to manipulate both of us? Sarah's smile turned bitter. She's good at it. I'll give her that. We talked for an hour. Sarah explained that she and Marcus had divorced amicably, he'd wanted kids, she hadn't, and they parted as friends. We still texted on birthdays. When Veronica called me, sobbing about Marcus's cold feet, it seemed in character. He overthinks everything. So you drove all that way to help. And got gaslit for my trouble. Sarah adjusted her pillows with a wince. Veronica told Marcus I showed up drunk and belligerent. That I threatened to object during the ceremony. But you only arrived at the reception. Exactly. The ceremony was at 4. I didn't get there until 8. She fixed me with a look. Your photos prove that timeline. Pieces clicked together. Veronica needed you to look unstable. That's why she invited you, to create drama she could weaponize later. But she didn't count on documentation. Sarah's expression sharpened. Or on Marcus actually believing evidence over her tears. The week before the annulment hearing, Veronica's mother showed up at my workplace. I was editing photos at my desk when the receptionist called. Vivian? There's a Linda Hartwell here to see you. My blood ran cold. Linda Hartwell, Veronica's mother, my grandmother's sister. I hadn't seen her in years, Not since a Christmas gathering where she'd spent the entire evening bragging about Veronica's accomplishments while Mom smiled tightly into her wine glass. I found her in the lobby, dressed in a cream pantsuit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her expression was cold calculation wrapped in grandmotherly concern. "Vivian, sweetheart." She opened her arms for a hug I didn't return. "Can we talk somewhere private?" We ended up in a coffee shop across the street. She ordered a cappuccino and wasted no time. "I understand you're planning to testify against Veronica." "I'm testifying about what I saw." "That's not the same as testifying against her." Linda's smile was sharp. "Let's not play semantic games. You know exactly what you're doing. You're destroying her life over a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Anger flared hot in my chest. She manipulated Marcus's ex-wife into attending the wedding under false pretenses. Sarah ended up in the hospital because of Veronica's lies. Sarah Chen is an adult responsible for her own choices. If she chose to drive while emotional, that's on her, not Veronica. The casual cruelty took my breath away. Veronica created the situation. She orchestrated the whole thing to make Marcus look unstable. "You don't know that. You're speculating based on photographs that could mean anything." Linda leaned forward, voice dropping. "Vivian, honey, I know you've always felt overlooked in this family. I know Veronica's success has been hard for you to watch. But this vindictive behavior isn't going to fill that emptiness inside you." I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I'm done with this conversation." "Sit down." Her voice cracked like a whip. "I'm not finished." But I was. I walked out of that coffee shop with my heart hammering and my hands shaking, leaving Linda Hartwell sitting alone with her cappuccino and her delusions. When I told Patricia about the encounter, she asked if I wanted to file a harassment complaint. "No," I said. "Let her think she rattled me. It'll make the testimony more satisfying." The annulment hearing arrived on a gray Tuesday that smelled like rain. I sat in the courthouse hallway, wearing my only blazer, hands shaking as I reviewed my written statement. Marcus's lawyer, a woman named Patricia with silver hair and zero patience for nonsense, had prepared me thoroughly. "Just tell the truth," Patricia said. "Don't embellish. Don't speculate. Stick to what you personally witnessed." Veronica arrived 20 minutes late in a black dress that screamed grieving widow. Her lawyer, a man whose suit probably cost more than my yearly rent, immediately requested a continuance due to emotional distress. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, denied it. Linda Hartwell sat in the gallery behind Veronica, shooting daggers at me with her eyes. I refused to look away. Let her see exactly who she'd underestimated. Inside the courtroom, everything felt surreal. I was called to the stand third, after Marcus and Sarah. My hands trembled as I swore the oath. Patricia walked me through the wedding night chronologically. When did I notice Sarah? What was she doing? What was Veronica doing during the same time frame? "And you're certain of these timestamps?" Patricia asked. "Yes. The metadata confirms it." Veronica's lawyer stood for cross-examination. "Ms. Madison, you stated you purchased your own bridesmaid dress. Is that correct?" Strange question. "Yes." "And you felt resentful about that?" I wouldn't say resentful. But you felt Mrs. Greenfield should have paid for it?" Patricia objected. The judge sustained. The lawyer shifted tactics. "How long did it take you to upload these photos to Mrs. Greenfield's cloud?" "About an hour." "And during that hour, you had full access to her account?" My stomach sank. I was just uploading photos. "But you could have accessed other files, correct? Messages? Documents?" "I didn't. Answer the question, please." "Technically, yes, but no further questions." I left the stand feeling like I'd been stripped down and examined. Patricia gave me a reassuring nod, but I felt sick. Then they called Veronica. She took the stand dabbing her eyes with a tissue, voice trembling. "Sarah Chen has been harassing Marcus for months. Calling him, showing up at his office. I invited her to the wedding as an olive branch, a way to show her Marcus had moved on and she needed to do the same." It was such a smooth lie, delivered with perfect conviction. "And when she arrived intoxicated?" Her lawyer prompted. I asked security to quietly help her to a taxi. I didn't want to embarrass her. Even after everything, I felt compassion. I wanted to scream. Patricia's cross-examination was surgical. "Mrs. Greenfield, you stated Sarah arrived intoxicated. What time did she arrive?" "Around 8, I think." You think? Or you know? Veronica hesitated. I know. 8 o'clock. Patricia pulled out a photo. This image, timestamped 8:47 p.m., shows Sarah Chen speaking with Marcus at the bar. Does she appear intoxicated to you? She was hiding it well. And this photo, timestamped 10:55 p.m., shows you cutting your wedding cake for a second time. Correct? We wanted a better angle. While Sarah Chen was being quietly removed by security at 10:47? I don't remember the exact timing. You don't remember the traumatic event you've been crying about for days? Veronica's composure cracked. She ruined my wedding. She showed up to cause problems, and now she's lying about everything to destroy my marriage. Ms. Chen drove off a road and is hospitalized. What exactly is she lying about? The invitation. The phone call. All of it. Patricia smiled. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit F, phone records showing a 43-minute call from Veronica Greenfield's number to Sarah Chen's number on the evening of April 3, 1 week before the wedding. The courtroom went silent. Veronica's face drained of color. Her lawyer requested a recess. The judge granted 15 minutes. In the hallway, I found Marcus sitting alone on a bench, head in his hands. You okay? I asked. He looked up, eyes red. I feel like an idiot. I believed every word she said. She's convincing. Too convincing. He rubbed his face. Do you know what the worst part is? I thought I knew her. We dated for 8 months before I proposed. She was kind, thoughtful, normal. How did I miss this? I didn't have an answer. Patricia emerged from a conference room, expression grim. They want to settle. Marcus stood. Meaning? Veronica will agree to the annulment without contesting if we agree not to pursue damages for Sarah's medical bills or emotional distress. Absolutely not. Marcus, she put Sarah in the hospital. She lied under oath. She tried to ruin both of our lives. His voice was shaking. I'm not letting her walk away clean. Patricia studied him. Then we go back in and finish this. The hearing resumed. Patricia called one more witness, Detective Raymond Ortiz from the local police department. He'd been the responding officer to Sarah's accident. Detective Ortiz, can you describe Ms. Chen's state when you arrived at the scene? She was conscious but crying. Kept saying I'm so stupid over and over. When we asked what happened, she said she'd been driving while emotionally upset after a confrontation at a wedding. Did she mention the nature of the confrontation? She said the bride had invited her under false pretenses and that she'd been tricked into attending. Did Ms. Chen appear intoxicated? No. We performed a field sobriety test. She was completely sober. Veronica's lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. Patricia wasn't finished. Your Honor, I'd like to call one additional witness, Blake Morrison. I hadn't known Blake would be there. Apparently, neither had Veronica, based on the way all color drained from her face. Blake took the stand looking nervous. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 30, with the kind of casual handsomeness that probably made him popular in college. Now he just looked defeated. Mr. Morrison, how do you know Veronica Greenfield? We've been involved for about 8 months. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Marcus's expression stayed carefully neutral, but his knuckles went white, gripping the table edge. 8 months, Patricia repeated. That would mean your relationship with Mrs. Greenfield began while she was engaged to Marcus Greenfield. Is that correct? Yes. Did you know she was engaged? Blake's jaw tightened. She told me the engagement was falling apart. That Marcus was controlling and she was looking for a way out. But she went through with the wedding. She said she had to. For financial reasons. He looked miserable. She promised me it was temporary. Said she'd file for divorce within a year and we could be together. Patricia pulled out a document. Mr. Morrison, do you recognize this bank statement? That's mine. Can you explain these deposits? $5,000 on June 3rd. Another $5,000 on June 18th. $3,000 on July 2nd. Veronica gave me that money. She said it was to help me get a better apartment so we could spend time together without Marcus finding out. Where did Mrs. Greenfield get this money? She said Marcus gave her a credit card for wedding expenses. She'd been skimming off the top for months. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged her gavel. Marcus looked like he'd been punched. I wanted to reach over and squeeze his hand, but we were separated by the aisle. Patricia let the revelation settle before continuing. Mr. Morrison, why are you testifying today? Because I didn't know about the fraud. His voice cracked. I thought she loved me. Then after the annulment, she ghosted me completely. Blocked my number, changed her locks. I went to her apartment and found her with someone else, another guy, younger than me. When I confronted her, she laughed and said I was always just plan B. That's when I realized she'd been using me the whole time. So you contacted Mr. Greenfield's legal team. I contacted the police first. Showed them the text messages, the bank transfers, everything. They told me to reach out to you. He looked at Marcus for the first time. I'm sorry, man. I really am. I had no idea how deep this went. The judge took 30 minutes to deliberate. When she returned, her expression was granite. I've reviewed the evidence, including photographic documentation with verified metadata, phone records, and police testimony. Mrs. Greenfield's testimony contains multiple inconsistencies that undermine her credibility. The annulment is granted, effective immediately. Veronica made a sound like a wounded animal. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm ordering Mrs. Greenfield to cover all medical expenses related to Ms. Chen's accident, plus compensatory damages in the amount of $50,000. Your Honor, Veronica's lawyer began. I'm not finished. I'm also referring this case to the district attorney's office for potential perjury charges. Court dismissed. The gavel fell. Outside the courthouse, rain had started, light and cleansing. Marcus stood on the steps, face tilted toward the sky. I got married 5 days ago, he said to no one in particular. 5 days. Could be a record, I offered. He laughed, a real laugh this time. Sarah's going to love this. She always said I made impulsive decisions. Marrying Veronica wasn't impulsive. She conned you. She conned all of us. He looked at me. Especially you. You went into debt for that dress. $200 isn't exactly debt. It is when you're being manipulated into spending it. He pulled out his phone. What's your Venmo? Marcus, you don't have to humor me. I just got annulled and ordered to pay $50,000. $200 is a rounding error at this point. I gave him my information. 3 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Marcus Greenfield sent you $2,000. Note, for the dress, the photos, and saving my life. Thank you. That's way too much. Consider it hazard pay. He pocketed his phone. I mean it, Vivian. You could have deleted those photos. Could have stayed out of it. But you didn't. I didn't know what to say. Patricia joined us on the steps, closing her umbrella. Sarah's lawyer called. She's awake and wants to thank you both personally. We drove to the hospital together, me, Marcus, and Patricia squished into Marcus's sedan. The conversation was surprisingly light, almost giddy with relief. Patricia told stories about other annulment cases, each more bizarre than the last. Had a groom once who discovered his bride was actually married to his cousin, she said. They'd planned it together to access his trust fund. How did he find out? I asked. Anniversary party. The cousin got drunk and blew a kiss across the table. We were still laughing when we reached Sarah's room. She looked better than my first visit, bruises fading, smile real. The conquering heroes, she greeted. Marcus crossed the room and hugged her carefully. I'm so sorry. You didn't drive me off the road. Veronica did. Sarah glanced at me. Well, Veronica and my own stupid emotions. You're not stupid for believing someone who called you crying, I said. Maybe not stupid. Naive? She shifted against her pillows. Marcus, I heard about the $50,000. You don't have to give me anything. The hospital bills are mostly covered by insurance. It's not about the bills. It's about consequences. His jaw set in that way I recognized from the bar photo. She doesn't get to hurt people without penalty. Sarah studied him, then nodded. Okay. Then I'm donating it to a domestic violence charity. In Veronica's name. The irony made us all smile. 3 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. Is this Vivian Madison? Yes. This is Jennifer Pritchard from Metro News Network. I'm doing a story on annulment fraud and heard about your role in the Greenfield case. Would you be willing to interview? My immediate instinct was to refuse. But something stopped me. Can I think about it? Of course. Here's my card. She emailed her information. I sat with it for 2 days, reading the draft article she'd written so far. It was balanced, Factual, focused on the legal implications rather than sensationalism. I called her back. I'll do it. But I want to review any quotes before publication. The interview ran the following week, accompanied by one of the wedding photos, Veronica beaming at the camera while Sarah Chen left through a door in the background. The caption read, "The photo that ended a marriage in 5 days." The story went semi-viral in legal circles. I got emails from lawyers asking about expert testimony protocols. 3 women reached out privately to say they'd experienced similar manipulation from family members and the article had helped them recognize the patterns. One email stood out. A woman named Rachel from Oregon wrote, "I was supposed to be my sister's maid of honor next month. She's been treating me exactly like Veronica treated you, making me pay for everything, criticizing my appearance, using me as free labor. Your story gave me the courage to step back. I told her I couldn't be in the wedding party anymore. She went nuclear, but I held my ground. Thank you for sharing your experience. It saved me from years of resentment." I read that email 3 times, tears blurring the words. This was the unexpected gift of speaking up. Other people found their voices too. One email came from Veronica. Subject: "You destroyed my life. Body: I hope you're proud of yourself. Marcus was my last chance at happiness and you stole it from me because you're jealous and petty and can't stand to see other people succeed. You've always been a vindictive little brat. I should have known better than to include you in my wedding. My lawyer says I can't contact you, but I needed you to know, you didn't save anyone. You ruined everything. I'll never forgive you." I read it twice, then forwarded it to Patricia with a note, "Is this something I should be concerned about?" Her response came within minutes: "Screenshot it and save it. If she contacts you again, we'll pursue a restraining order. Otherwise, ignore." I took her advice. But Veronica wasn't done. 2 months after the annulment, I arrived home to find my apartment door ajar. Panic spiked through me. I'd locked it that morning. I was obsessive about locks. I called 911 from the hallway and waited for the police to arrive. They cleared the apartment. Nothing appeared stolen. But my laptop was open on the kitchen table, browser pulled up to Veronica's cloud account, still logged in from the photo upload months ago. "Ma'am, do you have any idea who might have accessed your residence?" the officer asked. I explained the whole story: the wedding, the annulment, Veronica's threatening email. The officer took notes. "We'll file a report, but without proof of who entered, there's not much we can do. I'd recommend changing your locks and maybe installing a security camera." After they left, I examined the laptop more carefully. The cloud account history showed recent activity. Someone had accessed it at 2:47 p.m. that afternoon while I was at work. They'd downloaded files. Wedding photos? No. Those were still there. I scrolled through the account folders, heart hammering. Found a folder labeled Legal Documents. Inside, Veronica's divorce papers from her first marriage, financial records, medical documents, and a folder titled Marcus, Private. I shouldn't have clicked it. I absolutely should not have clicked it. But I did. Inside were screenshots of text conversations between Veronica and someone named Blake. The messages dated back 6 months, overlapping with her relationship with Marcus. Blake: "Miss you, baby. When can I see you again?" Veronica: "Soon. Just need to lock this down first." Blake: "The wedding's really happening?" Veronica: "Has 2. His credit is perfect and the prenup is weak. 2 years and I'm set." My stomach turned. More screenshots. Photos of Veronica and Blake together, clearly intimate. Bank statements showing transfers from Marcus's account to Veronica's, then from Veronica's to Blake's. She'd been planning this from the start. The break-in suddenly made sense. Veronica knew these files existed in her cloud. She panicked when she realized I still had access and tried to delete the evidence before I found it. But she was too late. I called Patricia immediately. "This changes everything," Patricia said, reviewing the files on her office computer. Marcus never mentioned a prenup. Maybe he didn't realize it was weak? Or maybe Veronica had her lawyer drafted specifically to favor her in a divorce. Patricia's fingers flew across her keyboard. "If we can prove she entered the marriage with fraudulent intent, planning to divorce for financial gain, Marcus can sue for fraud. And the break-in? File a police report with this new context. If Veronica was trying to destroy evidence, that's obstruction of justice." I filed the report that afternoon. The detective assigned to my case, a sharp woman named Torres, took it seriously. We'll pull surveillance footage from your building, she said. And check for fingerprints on your laptop. 3 days later, Torres called. We got a hit on the fingerprints. Veronica Greenfield. She was in my apartment? Technically, the prints just prove she touched your laptop at some point. But combined with the timeline and the threatening email, we have enough for a warrant. The next week moved fast. Police searched Veronica's residence and found my spare key, the one I kept hidden under a fake rock by my front door. She'd apparently followed me home one day and watched me retrieve it. Torres arrested Veronica on charges of breaking and entering, attempted evidence tampering, and criminal trespass. Marcus filed a civil suit for fraud, using the screenshots as evidence. And Blake, Veronica's apparent boyfriend, got spooked and contacted Marcus's lawyer directly, offering to testify in exchange for immunity. Turned out Blake didn't know about the fraud deal either. Veronica had told him Marcus was wealthy but that she genuinely loved him. When Blake saw the screenshots about the 2-year plan, he realized he'd been manipulated too. She told me she was leaving him after the honeymoon, Blake said during his deposition, which I read later. Said she'd made a mistake and wanted to be with me. Then the annulment happened and she went silent. I thought she'd gotten caught cheating. I had no idea she was planning financial fraud. The pieces built a damning picture. Veronica had targeted Marcus specifically for his money, drafted a favorable prenup through a lawyer friend, planned to maintain the marriage just long enough to access his assets, then divorce and split the proceeds with Blake. The Sarah Chen incident had been a miscalculation, a dramatic flourish meant to establish Marcus as emotionally unstable, strengthening Veronica's position in the eventual divorce. She'd invite Sarah, create chaos, then play the victim of Marcus's unresolved past. But she hadn't counted on documentation. Or on me. The criminal trial was scheduled for 6 months out. In the meantime, I tried to return to normal life. Tried being the operative word. The apartment didn't feel safe anymore, even with new locks and cameras. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning convinced I heard footsteps in the hallway. My hands would shake when I unlocked my door after work, always expecting to find something disturbed inside. Patricia recommended a therapist who specialized in trauma from criminal violations. Dr. Yolanda Martinez had kind eyes and didn't make me feel weak for being scared in my own home. Veronica didn't just break into your space, Dr. Martinez explained during our 3rd session. She violated your sense of safety. Your body remembers that, even when your mind knows she's in custody. So I'm just supposed to live with jumping at every sound? You're supposed to give yourself time to heal. And in the meantime, we work on building new associations with safety. I started small. Invited my friend Kelsey over for movie nights. Asked my neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Patterson, if she'd keep an eye out for suspicious activity. Started a ritual of checking each room when I came home, not out of fear, but out of deliberate reclamation. This is my space. I belong here. Slowly, the apartment started feeling like mine again. I changed jobs. The data entry gig had been soul-crushing anyway. Found work at a small photography studio doing event coverage. Turned out I actually had a decent eye for candid shots. Diana, the studio owner, had seen the news coverage and hired me anyway. Everyone deserves a second chapter, she'd said during my interview. Yours just happens to be more dramatic than most. She taught me about lighting, composition, the technical aspects I'd stumbled through with Veronica's phone. But more importantly, she taught me to trust my instincts. If something feels off in a shot, it probably is, Diana would say. Your gut knows before your brain catches up. My gut had certainly known about Veronica. 3 weeks before the trial, my mother called with news that made my blood run cold. Linda wants to meet with you, Mom said. Veronica's mother. Absolutely not. Vivian, please. She says she has information about Veronica's past that might help your case. I almost hung up. But something in Mom's voice, urgency mixed with genuine concern, made me pause. What kind of information? She wouldn't tell me. Said she needed to explain it to you directly. She's willing to meet wherever you feel comfortable. I chose a coffee shop 3 blocks from Patricia's office, public and neutral. Brought Kelsey with me for backup. Linda Hartwell arrived 10 minutes early, looking smaller than I remembered. The polished society wife from the wedding had been replaced by someone who looked genuinely worn down. Thank you for meeting me, she said, sitting across from us. Kelsey stayed protectively close. You have 10 minutes, I said. Linda pulled out a folder, her hands trembling slightly. Veronica's father and I divorced when she was 9. He was not a good man. Controlling, manipulative, verbally cruel. I left him, but the custody arrangement gave him visitation every other weekend. She slid a document across the table, a psychological evaluation from when Veronica was 14. She started exhibiting concerning behaviors around 12. Lying compulsively, manipulating classmates, creating elaborate schemes to get what she wanted. I took her to a therapist, who diagnosed her with traits consistent with narcissistic personality disorder and recommended intensive treatment. I skimmed the evaluation. Words jumped out: persistent pattern of manipulation, lack of genuine empathy, grandiose sense of entitlement. Her father refused to participate in treatment, Linda continued. Said therapy was for weak people. He'd tell Veronica she was special, that rules didn't apply to her, that anyone who disagreed was just jealous. By the time she was 16, I'd lost all ability to reach her. Why are you telling me this now? Linda's composure cracked. Because I enabled it. After the divorce from her father, I felt guilty. I gave her everything she wanted, made excuses for her behavior, convinced myself she'd outgrow it. When she stole from her college roommate, I paid restitution and told myself it was a mistake. When she sabotaged a coworker's promotion, I believed her version of events. I chose my daughter's comfort over other people's well-being, every single time. Kelsey's hand found mine under the table. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Linda said. I'm asking you to include this in your testimony. The prosecution needs to understand this wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. This is who Veronica has been for decades, and people like me made it possible by never holding her accountable. You want me to make her look worse? I want you to tell the complete truth. Linda's eyes filled with tears. Veronica's lawyer is going to paint her as a woman who made a mistake under pressure, who's already suffered enough. But the pattern matters. The jury needs to see it. I looked at Kelsey, who gave me a small nod. I'll give this to Patricia, I said finally. She'll decide if it's relevant. Linda stood to leave, then paused. Vivian, I know I called you vindictive. I was wrong. You did what I should have done when she was 14. You refused to be manipulated. Thank you for that. After she left, Kelsey and I sat in silence for a moment. That was heavy, Kelsey said finally. Yeah. I stared at the folder. Do you think she's telling the truth? Or is this some kind of setup? I think she's a mother who finally realized she created a monster by never saying no. Kelsey squeezed my shoulder. But Patricia will verify everything. You don't have to carry this alone. Patricia called me that evening. This evaluation is remarkable. It establishes a pattern of behavior going back 25 years. The prosecutor wants to meet with Linda next week. Will it actually matter? It could mean the difference between Veronica serving 18 months or 5 years. Pattern evidence shows intent, shows this wasn't an aberration. Vivian, this is big. My first solo booking came 3 weeks into the new job. A couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary wanted photos of their renewal ceremony. The wife, Eleanor, reminded me of what Veronica could have been: elegant, warm, genuinely gracious. You're Vivian? She asked when I arrived at the venue. The one from the news article? My stomach dropped. Yes. I read your story. It's why I wanted to hire you specifically. Eleanor's eyes crinkled with kindness. My first marriage was to a man like your aunt. Controlling, manipulative, always playing the victim. It took me 15 years to leave. When I read about how you stood up for the truth, even when it was hard. Well, I wanted to support someone with that kind of integrity. I nearly cried right there. The renewal ceremony was beautiful, simple, honest, full of inside jokes and tender glances. During the reception, Eleanor's husband, George, pulled me aside. Thank you for documenting this, he said. But more than that, thank you for reminding people that the truth matters. My daughter was in an abusive relationship last year. Your article helped her recognize the gaslighting patterns. She left him 3 months ago and she's thriving now. Stories like this kept finding me. Diana started referring clients to me specifically. Word spread quietly through communities of people who'd survived manipulation, narcissistic abuse, toxic family dynamics. They wanted someone who understood that photos weren't just images, they were evidence. Proof of love, of joy, of moments worth remembering. One client, a woman named Jade, hired me for her elopement. My family thinks I'm making a mistake marrying someone they haven't vetted, she explained. I want photos that show how wrong they are. The elopement was perfect, just Jade, her partner Alex, and an officiant on a clifftop overlooking the ocean. The photos captured pure, unfiltered happiness. When I delivered them, Jade sent me a message: my mom saw these and cried. Not sad tears, happy ones. She said she'd never seen me look so free. Thank you for capturing the truth of who we are together. These moments became my anchor. Every wedding I photographed that was real, every family session full of genuine warmth, they were antidotes to Veronica's performance. Marcus and I had developed an unexpected friendship. We'd meet for coffee every couple of weeks, comparing notes on therapy. He'd started seeing someone too, swapping stories about our respective healing journeys. I almost proposed to her after 3 months, he confessed one afternoon. My therapist says I ignored every red flag because I was lonely after the divorce from Sarah. Sarah seems pretty great though. How did you two end up divorced in the first place? We wanted different things. She didn't want kids, I did. We stayed friends because the love was real, we just weren't compatible long term. He stirred his coffee. Veronica knew that. She used it against me. Told me she wanted a big family, that she'd always dreamed of being a mother. Did she? Her medical records from the cloud breach show she had her tubes tied at 28. She never wanted kids. She just knew what to say to make me fall for her. He looked exhausted. I feel like an idiot. You're not an idiot. She's a professional manipulator. There's a difference. Sarah recovered fully and started dating someone new, a radiologist named Tom she'd met during her hospital stay. The 4 of us, me, Marcus, Sarah, and Tom, started having monthly dinners. It felt surreal at first, all of us connected by Veronica's chaos, but gradually it became something genuine. Tom was steady and funny, completely uninterested in drama. During our 3rd dinner together, he told us about his residency disasters, and Sarah laughed so hard she snorted wine out of her nose. Elegant as always, Tom said, handing her a napkin. Marcus caught my eye across the table and smiled. This messy, imperfect gathering of people who'd been through hell, felt more real than anything at Veronica's wedding. Life is weird, she texted me once. Get hit by a car, meet your future husband in the ER. Me, that's one way to find love. Sarah, better than a wedding disaster. One afternoon, 4 months post-annulment, I was photographing a corporate event when my phone buzzed. Marcus, can you talk? Me, break in 10 minutes? Marcus, call me when you can. I finished shooting the executive headshots and stepped outside. Hey, what's up? Marcus sounded strange, excited but nervous. Veronica's lawyer contacted Patricia. They want to settle everything. Everything? Criminal charges, civil suit, all of it. In exchange for Veronica pleading guilty to lesser charges and paying full restitution plus damages. I leaned against the building. How much? $300,000. The number didn't feel real. Where would she even get that? Family money, apparently. Her parents are paying to make this go away quietly. He paused. Patricia wants to know if you'd accept a settlement too. For the break-in and emotional distress. I don't need. Vivian, she broke into your home. Threatened you. Made you paranoid in your own space. You absolutely deserve compensation. I thought about the sleepless nights after the break-in, the new locks I'd paid for, the security system I couldn't quite afford. How much are we talking? Patricia suggested $50,000. Veronica's lawyer countered with 20. I told them to go with Patricia's number or we'd see them in court. Marcus, you saved my life? Literally. If I'd stayed married to her, she would have cleaned me out and disappeared. $20,000 is insulting. We negotiated for another week. Veronica's parents got involved directly. Linda Hartwell called me herself. $35,000 is more than generous for someone who contributed to ruining my daughter's life, she said coldly. Your daughter broke into my apartment and tried to destroy evidence of fraud. The amount isn't negotiable. You always were a stubborn child. I learned from watching Veronica get away with everything for 41 years. Not anymore. The line went dead. Final settlement, $40,000 to me, $300,000 to Marcus, $75,000 to Sarah, and Veronica pleading guilty to criminal trespass, attempted evidence tampering, and fraud. She'd serve 18 months in minimum security, followed by probation. The day the settlement finalized, I sat in my apartment, newly secured with deadbolts and cameras, and stared at my bank account. $40,000. I'd never had more than $3,000 in savings. My phone rang. Mom. Vivian, honey, I heard about the settlement. Of course she had. The family grapevine was relentless. Yeah, it came through today. Veronica's mother called me. She's devastated. Veronica's her only daughter. I waited for the guilt trip. She wanted me to ask if you consider reducing the amount to help Veronica get back on her feet after prison. Anger flared, hot and sudden. No. Honey, Mom, Veronica broke into my apartment. She tried to destroy evidence. She committed fraud. She put Sarah in the hospital. She doesn't get to walk away from consequences because her mother is sad. Silence. You sound different, Mom said finally. I am different. Harder? No. Clearer. I softened my voice. Mom, I love you. But I'm not negotiating my boundaries anymore. Not for Veronica, not for anyone. She sighed. You're right. I know you're right. She's family. So am I. The conversation shifted after that. Mom asked about my photography work, actually listened when I talked about my clients. We made plans for lunch the following week, just us, no extended family drama. I'm proud of you, she said before hanging up. I should have said that months ago. You were braver than I ever was with my sister's family. After we hung up, I felt lighter. Like I'd set down a weight I'd been carrying since childhood. The lunch with Mom became a regular thing. She started coming to some of my photography sessions, helping with equipment, meeting my clients. During one family portrait session, she pulled me aside. Watching you work reminds me why I wanted to be a teacher, she said. You see people clearly? You capture who they really are, not who they pretend to be. I learned that lesson the hard way. The best lessons usually are. She squeezed my shoulder. Linda called me again yesterday. Asked if I'd talk you into dropping the charges. What did you say? I told her that Vivian's an adult who makes her own decisions, and I support her completely. Then I hung up. Mom's smile was fierce. I should have done that years ago. 6 months later, I was shooting a wedding, a real one this time, as the paid photographer. The bride was sweet, the groom nervous in an endearing way. They'd written their own vows and cried through the whole ceremony. During the reception, I captured them slow dancing while guests chatted in the background, completely absorbed in each other. It was the kind of moment Veronica's wedding had lacked, genuine joy. Marcus and Sarah showed up halfway through. They'd been invited by the groom, who apparently worked with Marcus. They waved from across the room, and I caught Sarah mouthing beautiful work. During a break, Marcus approached. You look happy. I am happy. This is a good gig. It suits you. He gestured toward the dance floor. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you deleted those photos? Or not uploaded them? I thought about it constantly those first few months. Sometimes. But then I remember Sarah's hospital bed and think, no. I'm glad I didn't. Me too. He glanced toward Sarah, who was laughing with the bride. We're getting married, by the way. I nearly dropped my camera. You and Sarah? I know. It's weird. But turns out almost dying in a car crash and bonding over shared trauma is a solid foundation. His smile was self-deprecating. We're taking it slow. The wedding's not until next year. And we're hiring a professional photographer. Probably wise. But we'd love for you to be there. As a guest. No phone duty required. Something warm settled in my chest. I'd like that. The reception wound down around midnight. I packed up my gear, exhausted but satisfied. The couple had already reviewed some of the digital previews and cried happy tears. This was what photography should be, capturing real moments, real love. Not performing damage control on a narcissist's carefully constructed facade. Driving home, I passed the venue where Veronica's wedding had been held. The building was dark now, hosting some other event. I felt nothing looking at it, no anger, no bitterness. Just distance. Veronica was in minimum security, probably charming fellow inmates and plotting her next scheme. I didn't waste energy hating her. She taught me something valuable: documentation matters. Truth matters. Standing up for yourself matters. I'd taken those lessons and built something new. My phone buzzed at a red light. Sarah, Marcus told me his good news. So happy you'll be at the wedding. And P.S., I need family photos done next month. Any chance you're available? Me, absolutely. Send me your schedule. Sarah, you're the best. Seriously. None of this would have happened without you. The light turned green. I drove toward my apartment, my safe space, the place I'd reclaimed after Veronica's violation. $40,000 sat in my savings account. I'd used some to pay off student loans, some to upgrade my camera equipment, invested a portion for the future. The rest was building interest, a cushion against emergencies. But the real wealth was different, knowing I could trust my instincts. That when something felt wrong, I didn't have to gaslight myself into ignoring it. Veronica had handed me her phone and expected me to be complicit in her lies. Instead, I'd handed her the truth. And the truth had consequences. _ 1 year later, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject: amends. Body: Vivian, this is Veronica. My therapist suggested I reach out to people I've harmed as part of my recovery program. I won't pretend we'll ever be close, or that you should forgive me. But I wanted you to know I'm working on understanding why I did what I did. The manipulation, the lying, all of it. I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted to acknowledge that you didn't deserve how I treated you. I read it 3 times. Patricia had warned me this might happen. People in prison often reach out as part of rehabilitation programs. You're under no obligation to respond. I thought about it for a week. Finally, I wrote back, Veronica, I appreciate you taking accountability. That takes courage. I don't think we'll ever have a relationship, but I genuinely hope you find peace and do better going forward. Vivian. Short, honest, boundaried. She never responded, and I didn't expect her to. _ Marcus and Sarah's wedding was everything Veronica's wasn't: small, intimate, genuine. They married in Sarah's parents' backyard under a canopy of string lights, with 40 guests who actually loved them. I attended as a guest, wearing a dress I'd chosen myself, deep burgundy, comfortable, mine. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. Sarah's vows talked about second chances and finding love in unexpected places. Marcus's voice broke when he promised to be honest, to communicate, to never take her for granted. I spent 8 months married to a lie, he said, departing from his prepared remarks. I know what fake looks like now. And this, he gestured between them, is the most real thing I've ever felt. There wasn't a dry eye in the yard. During the reception, Sarah found me by the dessert table. Thank you, she said simply. For what? For being brave when it mattered. For trusting what you saw instead of what you were told. She squeezed my hand. You changed the trajectory of both our lives. I squeezed back. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe. But maybe not before she'd done more damage. Sarah glanced toward Marcus, who was dancing with his mother. Some people go their whole lives letting manipulators win because it's easier than making waves. You made waves. An hour into the reception, there was a commotion near the entrance. I turned to see Mom arriving. I'd invited her weeks ago, but she wasn't alone. Linda Hartwell stood beside her, dressed in black like she was attending a funeral rather than a wedding. My stomach dropped. Sarah noticed my expression and followed my gaze. Is that Veronica's mother? I don't know why she's here. Marcus appeared at our side, immediately protective. Do you want me to ask her to leave? Before I could answer, Mom approached with Linda in tow. Mom looked apologetic. Linda looked determined. Vivian, Linda said. I know this is unexpected, but I needed to speak with you. With all of you. Marcus stepped forward. Mrs. Hartwell, this is my wedding day. Whatever you have to say. Veronica's in the hospital. Linda's voice cracked. She tried to harm herself 2 days ago. She's stable now, but the doctor said she left a note. It mentioned all of you. The backyard seemed to tilt. Sarah's hand found mine. What did it say? I asked quietly. Linda pulled out her phone, hands shaking, and read, I destroyed everything good in my life because I couldn't stand to see other people have what I wanted. Marcus deserved better. Sarah deserved an apology. Vivian deserved a real aunt. I'm sorry I was never those things. Tell them the truth was always the right choice, even when it hurt. Silence fell over our small group. Around us, wedding music continued, guests laughed and danced, unaware of the moment unfolding. Why are you telling us this? Marcus asked, his voice careful. Because Veronica asked me to. Linda's composure finally cracked, tears spilling down her carefully made-up face. Because she said you all deserved to know she finally understood what she'd done. And because I owe you an apology too. She turned to me specifically. Vivian, I called you vindictive. I accused you of jealousy. I tried to manipulate you into reducing your settlement. But you were right about everything. Veronica has been enabled her entire life, by me, by her father, by everyone who loved her. We made excuses instead of holding her accountable. You did what we should have done years ago. Mom's arm slipped around my shoulders. I don't expect forgiveness, Linda continued. I don't even know if Veronica deserves it. But I wanted you to know that your strength, your integrity, your refusal to be manipulated. It finally got through to her. The prison therapist said Veronica's actually working on herself for the first time in her life. It might be too late for her to repair what she broke, but at least she's trying. Marcus and Sarah exchanged a glance. Some silent communication passed between them. Mrs. Hartwell, Sarah said gently, I appreciate you coming here to tell us this. I hope Veronica gets the help she needs. But this is Marcus's and my wedding day. We'd like to celebrate the future we're building, not revisit the past. It was a kind dismissal, but a dismissal nonetheless. Linda nodded, understanding. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you two look genuinely happy together. I can see why Marcus chose you, Sarah. You're nothing like. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. After Linda left, Mom hugged me tight. I'm sorry I brought her. She showed up at my house this morning, begging. I thought maybe you'd want closure. It's okay, I said, and meant it. Actually, I think I needed to hear that. Not for Veronica's sake, for mine. The reception continued. Marcus and Sarah had their first dance, cut their cake, tossed the bouquet. But later, during a quiet moment, Marcus found me again. That thing with Veronica's mom, he said. Are you okay? Yeah. Weirdly, I am. I watched Sarah laughing with her father across the yard. It doesn't change what Veronica did. But knowing she finally acknowledged it. I don't know. It feels like the story actually ended instead of just stopping. I get that. He was quiet for a moment. Her note said the truth was always the right choice. She's right about that. Later, during the toasts, Marcus raised his glass. Most wedding speeches thank the people who brought the couple together, he said. Ours is a little different. Sarah and I are here because someone cared enough to tell the truth, even when it was uncomfortable. Vivian, he found me in the crowd. Thank you for being inconvenient. Thank you for not deleting those photos. Thank you for giving us both a second chance. The guests applauded. I felt tears prickling and blinked them back. Sarah stood and added her own toast. To everyone here who chose honesty over comfort, who made waves instead of keeping peace, who stood up when it was easier to stay silent, thank you. You're the reason we believe in goodness again. This was the ending Veronica couldn't have scripted, her casualties turning into survivors, then thrivers. And me, the vindictive little brat, standing in a backyard full of people who valued honesty over performance. I raised my glass back to Marcus and Sarah. Some stories don't end with revenge. They end with relief. And sometimes, unexpectedly, with redemption. A final thought. We spend so much energy trying to be liked, to keep peace, to avoid confrontation. We ignore red flags because addressing them feels uncomfortable. We accept mistreatment because demanding better feels selfish. But here's what I learned from photographing Veronica's wedding and watching her carefully constructed world collapse: the truth doesn't need your permission to exist. It just needs your courage to speak it. When you choose honesty, even when it costs you relationships, comfort, or approval, you create space for something real to grow. You stop being a supporting character in someone else's manipulative narrative and become the author of your own story. The photos I took that night weren't just documentation of a wedding. They were proof that reality persists, even when people try to rewrite it. That victims can become witnesses. That small acts of integrity ripple outward in ways you can't predict. Veronica tried to use me as a prop in her performance. Instead, I became the person who said, "This happened. This is what I saw. This is the truth." And sometimes, that's the only thing that matters. Stand in your truth. Document your reality. Trust what you see. The rest will follow. 2 years after Veronica's wedding, my photography business had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. I'd hired an assistant, booked weddings 6 months in advance, even started teaching workshops on authentic documentary photography. My client base had shifted. People sought me out specifically because they wanted someone who understood that photos told stories beyond the smiles. Couples in second marriages, blended families navigating complexity, people reclaiming their narratives after difficult relationships, they all found their way to me. One client, a woman named Rebecca, hired me to photograph her vow renewal after leaving an abusive marriage. "I want proof that joy is real," she said. "That I'm not making it up this time." The photos from that session, Rebecca laughing freely with her new partner, her teenage daughter no longer looking tense and guarded, became some of my favorite work. Sarah referred me to friends. Marcus sent corporate clients my way. Mom started volunteering at my workshops, helping nervous beginners learn to trust their eye. And sometimes, when I was editing photos late at night, I'd think about that moment at Veronica's wedding when I'd zoomed in on Marcus and the woman in red. The instinct that told me something was wrong. The choice to document it instead of deleting it. That single decision had created a cascade of consequences I could never have predicted. Sarah got her justice. Marcus escaped a predatory marriage. Blake learned to recognize manipulation. And I discovered that standing in truth, even when it's uncomfortable, creates space for real relationships to grow. The $40,000 from the settlement became seed money for my business. But the real gift was something money couldn't buy: the knowledge that my voice mattered. That documentation mattered. That the truth, spoken clearly and without apology, had power. 3 years after everything began, I photographed my 100th wedding. The bride asked me the same question many clients did: how do you make people look so genuinely happy? I smiled. I don't make them anything. I just capture what's actually there. The real always shows up in photos, eventually. You just have to be willing to see it. She looked at me curiously. You sound like you learned that the hard way. I did, I said, adjusting my lens. But it was worth it.